subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Synopsis. What is it like to have heaven-defying enlightenment? Kamisato Tsukika, who traveled to the ninja world and was in the same class as Naruto Sasuke, said that once a false genius learns ninjutsu, a true genius will innovate and create his own supernatural power. You comprehended the 8 inner gates technique and deduced it, and you created the permanent 8 inner gates technique. You comprehended the spiritualization technique and deduced it, and you created the deification technique. You comprehended the 3 sage modes and deduced it, and you created the true immortal mode. You comprehended the flying thunder god technique and deduced it, and you created the teleportation technique. You comprehended the impure world reincarnation and deduced it, and you created the resurrection technique. Chapter 1, I'm Not a Human Anymore. Shinobi World, Konoha. 60 years. The night is deep, the moon is in the sky, and the moonlight is bright. In the southeast corner of Konoha, there is a wooden house with its back against the forest. The wooden house is not big, and a young man named Kamisato Tsukika lives in it. He exhaled a breath of turbid air from his mouth, and Kamisato Tsukika's slightly closed eyes suddenly opened. His eyes were bright, and there seemed to be fluorescence in his eyes. Kamisato Tsukika is 12 years old this year, and he looks very handsome. Because he's not very old, he looks a bit delicate and cute. Finally, the 3rd gate in front of the 8 inner gates is permanently opened. Kamisato Tsukika muttered to himself, and the corners of his mouth slightly raised, and he was in a very good mood. It's been a year since I traveled to the ninja world. In a year, I went from being an ordinary student at a ninja school to permanently opening the 3rd gate, opening the 6th gate regularly, and forcibly opening the 7th gate at the 8 inner gates. Only in terms of paper strength, I should be an elite genin in terms of physical skills at the age of 12. With other skills, my strength should be at the Kaga level, right? The only thing I lack now is the combat experience that the strong man has gained from countless times on the brink of death. It's a pity that my previous life was just an ordinary orphan with no family or bloodline, and I traveled here too shortly. Only 1 year, otherwise I would definitely be stronger. After all, I am a person with heaven-defying comprehension. Heaven-defying comprehension, the plug-in that Kamisato Tsukika traveled through. How heaven-defying is this comprehension? After discovering that she had no bloodline and no family secrets, Kamisato Tsukika created a set of secrets that could absorb the essence of the sun and the moon to temper her body based on the Taoist classics she had read in her previous life and the chakra extraction method of this world. This set of secrets was named Sun-Moon Eclipse Technique by Kamisato Tsukika. Later, Kamisato Tsukika approached Might Guy by accident and obtained the 8 inner gates technique from Might Guy with her own efforts and will of fire. And she comprehended and deduced it, combined with the self-created Sun-Moon Eclipse Technique, and created a new 8 inner gates technique. The old 8 inner gates technique is very difficult to practice and requires great will and effort. Although the successful practice can greatly improve the strength of the practitioner, the cost is too high, which will cause great trauma to the practitioner's body. After opening the 8 gate of death, he will die. Not only that, the biggest disadvantage of the 8 inner gates is its durability. The open gate cannot last for a long time, it will be closed soon, and the user will soon lose combat effectiveness after closing. In this way, the 8 inner gates technique has more disadvantages than advantages for ordinary ninjas. However, the new 8 inner gates technique created by Kamisato Tsukika does not have the disadvantages of the old 8 inner gates technique. His 8 gates can be opened permanently, and with the physical training of Sun and Moon Eclipse Technique and the repair of the body by the essence of the sun and the moon every moment, the side effects of Kamisato Tsukika opening the 8 gates are completely eliminated. As long as Kamisato Tsukika's body is well trained, he will be able to open all 8 gates permanently one day. Most importantly, Kamisato Tsukika does not need to work hard day after day. The only thing he needs to open all 8 gates is time. In addition to the sun-eating moon technique and new 8 inner gates technique, Kamisato Uehua also created some A-level ninjutsu. This is Kamisato Uehua's heaven-defying enlightenment. To become a strong person, understanding, physique, and will are all indispensable. Physique determines the lower limit. Understanding determines the upper limit, and will exchanges for the potential brought by physique and understanding. In the ninja world, the representatives of physique should be the Tsutsuki clan and the races with their bloodline. The weakest Tsutsuki can have the strength of 6 paths. Unfortunately, the people of the Tsutsuki clan with the strongest physique do not seem to have good understanding. The abilities they use almost all come from the physique bloodline of the Tsutsuki clan, and they have not created any amazing abilities. And the representatives of understanding should be Senju Tobarama, Orochimaru, Yakushi Kabuto, and others. Especially Senju Tobarama. Reanimation Jutsu, Flying Thunder God Technique, Shadow Clone Technique. Unfortunately, the physique bloodline is not good. Their growth is restricted, especially Senju Tobarama. If he has the Tsutsuki clan's physique and strength, will definitely reach a terrifying height. As for the representative figures of will, there is no doubt that it is Might Dai, Might Guy, and Shaoli. Their will is admirable, but their physique and comprehension are too poor. The maximum height they can reach is only the power of 8 inner gates after the 8 gates are fully opened. In Kamisato Uehua's mind, a person emerged. Each of them can be called a legend. They are all amazing figures in the 3 characteristics of innate physique and will. But unfortunately, they are only legends in their own characteristics. Since the history of the ninja world, no one has been able to combine the 3 characteristics in one. However, Kamisato Uehua believes that that person will appear soon. He, Kamisato Uehua, will be the only one in the ninja world. Of course, will is not to be mentioned. Even if his physique is just that of an ordinary mortal, Kamisato Uehua, who has heaven-defying comprehension, does not think that he can't find a way to change his physique. Richie Cave's Sage Mode. Can't ordinary people's bodies evolve? Let's not talk about what happened to Orochimaru's body, but Yakushi Kabuto's body has actually evolved. Although my eating sun and moon technique can also make the body stronger, if I want to make this body reach or even surpass the physical level of the Tsutsuki clan, I still need to further deduce it. Richie Cave, it's necessary to go there. Not only Richie Cave, but also Mount Maiboku and Wetbone Forest. All 3 places must be visited once. After all, deduction is not just imagination. It also requires corresponding knowledge and experience. The practice methods of the 3 sage modes must be very useful to me. The 3 holy places, Konoha Sannin, Chunin exam seems to be a good opportunity. Kamisato Uehua said to herself, and quickly planned in her mind. After thinking for a while, Kamisato Uehua had a rough plan. However, Kamisato Uehua did not continue to think deeply. After all, there's still a long time before the Chunin exam, and there are many variables. The most urgent thing now is tomorrow's ninja graduation exam. Naruto, Mizuki, and the Book of Sealing are really a godsend. Thinking of the plot in the original work, Kamisato Uehua's mouth curled up. After tomorrow, there will be another book of sealing in his mind. Chapter 2 Graduation Examination. The next day, the sun was shining and the sky was clear. If it was normal weather, the students of the ninja school would definitely feel very comfortable and at ease. But today, Uzumaki Naruto was destined not to have such a feeling. He was only afraid and nervous now, because today was the graduation exam day for their class. Moreover, the exam question was clone technique, which Uzumaki Naruto was least good at. The classroom where the graduation exam was held. Kamisato Uehua came in front of Irika and Mizuki and made seals with both hands. Clone technique. The next moment, more than a dozen clones appeared in the classroom. Seeing this scene, Irika smiled. Very good. The number of clones has exceeded Sasuke. Congratulations, Uehua. You passed. Irika spoke and handed the ninja forehead protector in front of him to Kamisato Uehua. Thank you, Mr. Irika. You've worked hard, Mr. Irika and Mr. Mizuki. Tsukika Kamisato politely took the forehead protector and left in Irika's pleased eyes. By the way, the next one is Naruto. Mr. Mizuki, please call him. Okay, Mr. Irika. After instructing Kamisato Mizuki, Irika couldn't help but sigh as he looked at Kamisato Mizuki's back as she left. What a hardworking genius. Mizuki will definitely become an excellent ninja. Mizuki just smiled when he heard this. His mind was all on Uzumaki Naruto. But Kamisato Mizuki, after entering the classroom where the class was located, immediately attracted everyone's attention, especially the girls in the class. Amazing, it's Tsukika-kun. He's already got the forehead protector. Of course, Tsukika-kun is a genius on par with Sasuke-kun. How could a ninjutsu like clone technique possibly stump him? And both Tsukika-kun and Sasuke-kun are so handsome. So handsome. Tsukika-kun, I love you. Listening to the excited words of the girls in the class, Kamisato Tsukika's heart was calm. He was used to it. There was no way. He was too handsome. And he was a genius. Genius plus handsome guy. How could these little girls resist? Not to mention ordinary girls. Even a lady like Yamanaka Ino looked at Kamisato Tsukika with shining eyes. As for Haruno Sakura, she still had Uchiha Sasuke in her eyes. And Uchiha Sasuke, he listened to everyone's words, equal genius, and as good as Sasuke, and looked at Kamisato Tsukika with dissatisfaction. This is normal. After all, a year ago, he was still the undisputed top student. But a year later, he became a genius on par with others. This made it difficult for Uchiha Sasuke, who was proud and felt that he was carrying the honor of the Uchiha clan, to be friendly to Kamisato Tsukika. He regarded Kamisato Tsukika as his biggest rival, except Uchiha Itachi. Kamisato Tsukika was naturally aware of the hostility towards Uchiha Sasuke, but Kamisato Tsukika didn't care. They are now 12 years old, and it will take 5 years for Uchiha Sasuke to enter the 6 Paths level. In 5 years, Kamisato Tsukika is confident that he will enter the 6 Paths level first. Naruto, Irika teacher asked you to go to the next classroom for the assessment. Looking at Uzumaki Naruto, Kamisato Tsukika spoke. Uzumaki Naruto heard this and looked at Kamisato Tsukika holding the ninja forehead protector in his hand, and his heart became more restless. However, no matter how uneasy he was, Uzumaki Naruto could only cheer himself up and then walk to the next classroom. Okay. Kamiri Tsukika looked at Uzumaki Naruto, who passed by and could clearly feel Uzumaki Naruto's nervousness. But Kamisato Tsukika's face was very calm, and she was looking forward to it. If there was no interference from the nine-tailed chakra in her body, Naruto's clone technique would definitely be very good. After all, in the future, Naruto's shadow clone technique is one of his signatures. Unfortunately, Naruto's clone technique is a mess now. But it's better this way, so that he has the opportunity today. No accident happened. Not long after, Uzumaki Naruto returned to the classroom with a frustrated look on his face. He didn't get the forehead protector that symbolizes ninjas, so it's obvious that Uzumaki Naruto failed the graduation exam. However, this is not the worst. The worst thing is that after everyone took the test, only Uzumaki Naruto failed the test in the whole class. So after school, when people were excitedly sharing the joy of graduation with their families and friends, only Uzumaki Naruto was sitting alone on the swing in the corner of the campus, lonely as if blending into the dim environment. Kamisato Uehua looked at the lonely Uzumaki Naruto, but did not go forward to comfort him. He just left the school calmly and began his day-to-day practice for the past year. Before Kamisato Uehua traveled through time, Kamisato Uehua's predecessor was just an ordinary ninja school student with no outstanding talent and belonging to the middle level. After Kamisato Uehua traveled through time, it was naturally impossible for her to lie down completely like her predecessor. Even if her comprehension was heaven-defying, Kamisato Uehua still made a high-intensity training plan for herself. It was not that she was looking for abuse. Although Kamisato Uehua had heaven-defying comprehension, he did not dare to guarantee that he could have the power to sweep everything before being exposed. If Kamisato Uehua accidentally exposed her strength before she had fully grown up, and was suspected by the Konoha high level, her situation would probably become very bad. And hard work is the best way to dispel the suspicion of Konoha's high-level officials. As long as Kamisato Tsukika works hard enough, then Kamisato Tsukika's transformation from mediocrity to genius will become reasonable. People think that Kamisato Tsukika was mediocre before the age of 11 because he didn't work hard at all and was too lazy. In fact, Kamisato Tsukika is a very talented child. And Kamisato Tsukika's hard work also made his plan of might, Guy 8 Inner Gates technique, very successful. After all, without enough effort and absolute will of fire, how can Might Guy teach 8 Inner Gates to Kamisato Tsukika? Exercise, short rest, and continue to exercise. Kamisato Tsukika repeated this until the sun set and the moon rose. Looking at the moon outside and calculating the approximate time, Kamisato Tsukika started the next exercise, running around the village. As for why he chose to run at night, it was naturally for today. Kamisato Tsukika was preparing for tonight a year ago. Kamisato Tsukika is determined to obtain the sealed book. Chapter 3 Nine Tails Demonic Fox at Night. The moon was bright in the sky. In the forest at the edge of Konoha, in front of a wooden house, a boy carrying a scroll was panting heavily, but he looked very excited. Who? Hey, Naruto! Uzumaki Naruto, who was panting heavily, looked up and looked at Iruka, who was sweating profusely with his hands supporting his legs, and couldn't help laughing. This made Iruka confused for a while. You found out, and I haven't learned a single ninjutsu yet. Uzumaki Naruto scratched the back of his head while speaking, not realizing how important the big scroll he was carrying was. You are practicing ninjutsu here? Iruka was a little confused. Uzumaki Naruto's reaction was a little different for what he thought. Listen to me. I'll show you a powerful ninjutsu later. If I succeed, you must let me graduate teacher Iruka. Uzumaki Naruto spoke excitedly. Thinking about the ninjutsu he had just seen, he couldn't help but want to show off to Iruka. Iruka's face changed when he heard it, and he realized that something was wrong. Who told you this? Of course it was Teacher Mizuki. The scroll and this place were all told to me by Teacher Mizuki. Excited Naruto looked at Iruka's sudden change of expression, and his voice couldn't help but weaken. Teacher Iruka looked how? Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Before Iruka and Uzumaki Naruto could think more, the sound of breaking air had already sounded in the quiet forest, and more than a dozen kunai had already gone towards Naruto from the darkness. Subconsciously, Iruka moved. He pushed Naruto away, and then crossed his hands to protect his head. Thump, 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 thump. I didn't expect you to find this place. After Naruto screamed in pain, a slightly unexpected voice sounded. Iruka and Uzumaki Naruto looked in the direction of the voice. On the branches above them, Mizuki, who was carrying a huge shuriken, was looking down at the two of them. I see. I roughly know what's going on. Iruka looked at Mizuki in pain and spoke. His right thigh had been shot by a kunai and was bleeding at this time. Mizuki's sneak attack just now was very sudden. If it weren't for his instinctive reaction, it would not be his thigh that was shot, but his heart. Mizuki didn't mean to talk nonsense with Iruka after hearing this. He just looked at Naruto. Naruto, hand over the scroll. Mizuki spoke, looking at the scroll on Uzumaki Naruto's back with greedy eyes. He himself didn't expect that the plan would go so smoothly. The Book of Seals was obtained so easily. Naruto, you can't give up the scroll even if you die, Iruka said loudly, pulling out the kunai from his thigh while staring at Mizuki to prevent Shursui from attacking again. That is a dangerous thing that records forbidden ninjutsu and is sealed. Mizuki used you to get the scroll. Uzumaki Naruto's body stiffened when he heard this, and Iruka's words made him a little confused. Mizuki looked disdainful when he heard this, looking at Iruka, who wanted to eat him below, and showed a contemptuous smile. Then he said to Naruto, Naruto, Iruka is afraid that you will get the scroll. This made Naruto stunned again, and he was even more confused. He just felt that his head was confused. Mizuki, what are you talking about? Iruka looked at Mizuki and yelled angrily, then looked at Naruto and said anxiously, Don't be fooled, Naruto. The sudden change made Uzumaki Naruto unable to recover at all, and he didn't have time to think about it. Mizuki laughed first. Hehehe. I'll tell you the truth, Naruto, Mizuki said. His eyes became playful, and Iruka's face changed again when he heard it, and he yelled at Mizuki. A hole. You can't talk about that. Mizuki ignored Iruka's roar, looked at Uzumaki Naruto, and raised his voice and continued. After the incident 12 years ago, the village set a certain rule. A certain rule? Naruto spoke subconsciously, feeling uneasy in his heart. It's a certain rule that Uzumaki Naruto must not know. Mizuki looked at Uzumaki Naruto, who was still confused. His eyes were playful. I'm the only one who can't know? What exactly is the rule? Naruto was even more confused and questioned Mizuki loudly. I was told, Mizuki. Iruka was anxious, widened his eyes, and yelled. If he hadn't been injured at this time, he would definitely attack Mizuki and stop Sasuke from continuing. It's the rule that you can never tell that Naruto's true identity is actually a fox demon. Mizuki ignored Iruka's warning. He looked at Uzumaki Naruto, and after seeing Uzumaki Naruto's changing face, he felt a sense of pleasure in his heart and continued. It's a nine-tails fox demon who killed Iruka's parents and destroyed the village. You have been deceived by the people in the village. Don't you think it's strange that everyone hates you so much? As soon as these words came out, Uzumaki Naruto trembled. Damn it, damn it, damn it! He roared angrily. His mind was in a mess, and his heart was hit too hard at this moment. No one will agree with you. Iruka hates you too. Everyone hates you. You killed people's parents, relatives, friends. You are a disaster, a fox demon. Mizuki continued to speak. His tone became sharp, with a strong pressure, forcing Uzumaki Naruto to break Naruto's psychological defense. The effect was also obvious. Uzumaki Naruto's psychological defense collapsed. So die, Naruto. Seeing Naruto collapse, Mizuki grinned and threw the huge shuriken in his hand fiercely. This was very sudden. Iruka didn't expect Mizuki to attack Uzumaki Naruto without hesitation. Naruto, get out of the way! Iruka yelled. He seemed to forget the pain in his thigh, and the whole person quickly rushed towards Uzumaki Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto didn't expect Mizuki to attack him. He looked at the flying shuriken. His body was stiff, his mind was blank. Fear made him subconsciously close his eyes to escape reality. Puff! The sound of a sharp weapon piercing the flesh echoed in the forest. Are you okay, Naruto? A familiar voice came, and Uzumaki Naruto, who felt as if he was suddenly pulled away by something, opened his eyes and saw a delicate and handsome face. He subconsciously called out a name. Yuka. Chapter 4. It's not a fox demon. Kamisato Tsukika. Mizuki looked at Kamisato Tsukika beside Uzumaki Naruto below and spoke in doubt. Obviously, Kamisato Tsukika's sudden appearance was completely beyond his expectations. Tsukika, great. Take Naruto away quickly, Run. Iruka's face was ferocious, but his tone was urgent. He knelt down at the place where Uzumaki Naruto was just now, with his hands on the ground and a huge shuriken on his back. That was the shuriken that Mizuki shot at Uzumaki Naruto, and Iruka blocked it for Uzumaki Naruto with his own body. Although it was obvious that even if he didn't block the shuriken, Uzumaki Naruto would be fine, but Iruka still did it subconsciously. In his heart, Uzumaki Naruto was very important. Teacher Iruka, are you okay? Kamisato Tsukika spoke to Iruka with concern, but his eyes were fixed on Mizuki on the tree. Although Mizuki is just a minor chunin, he is the first enemy Kamisato Yuehua has met. When a lion fights a rabbit, it must go all out. Facing Mizuki, the chunin who wanted to kill him, Kamisato Yuehua warned herself that she must take it seriously. I'm Fine. You guys go. I'll hold Mizuki. Yuehua, you quickly take Naruto to the village. Seeing that Kamisato Yuehua didn't move, Iruka became obviously anxious. Go? Hee. Today no one can go. Mizuki was also anxious. He knew that he had to quickly get rid of the 3 people in front of him and leave the village. Otherwise, when the ninjas in the village came, everything would be too late. After speaking, Mizuki threw another big shuriken in his hand directly at Irika, and at the same time jumped down from the tree, holding a kunai in his hand, and rushed towards Uzumaki Naruto and Kamisato Uewa. Run! Irika's face turned pale, and he shouted at Kamisato Tsukika and Uzumaki Naruto again. He endured the severe pain in his body and rushed towards Mizuki. Unfortunately, it seemed too late. At the same time, Uzumaki Naruto looked at Mizuki, who was rushing towards him ferociously, and the fear in his heart rose again. He wanted to dodge, but for some reason, his body seemed to be out of control and motionless. Damn it, Mu! In the emotions of fear and unwillingness, Uzumaki Naruto seemed to hear something. Wound gate open. Bang! The terrible chakra burst out from Kamisato Tsukika, accompanied by the sound of flesh collision, and in the unbelievable eyes of Uzumaki Naruto and Irika, Mizuki flew backwards at a faster speed. Kamisato Uewa also moved. He flew faster than Mizuki and came behind Mizuki before Mizuki stopped. He hit Mizuki hard again. Crack! Puff! This blow made Mizuki spurt blood from his mouth, and his body bent backwards like a waning moon. Ow, is it possible? His eyes were about to pop out of his eye sockets. His face was pale. He muttered to himself, and then his body collapsed to the ground. Mizuki's spine was broken. He completely lost his ability to move. Seeing this, Kamisato Uewa breathed a sigh of relief. Then he exited his own injury mode and pretended to breathe weakly. Ow, is it possible? Not far away, Irika, who came to Uzumaki Naruto, was stunned. Looking at Kamisato Uewa and Mizuki standing on the ground, his heart was in turmoil. Kamisato Uewa unexpectedly killed Mizuki, who was also a Chunin, in an instant. Great, so fast. Uzumaki Naruto couldn't help but speak, and he breathed a sigh of relief. But immediately, Uzumaki Naruto was confused again. He remembered what Mizuki had said just now. He was a fox demon. He was the fox demon that killed Irika's parents, destroyed the village, and killed many people. Mizuki, you just said? Naruto is a fox demon. When Uzumaki Naruto was confused and at a loss, Kamisato Tsukika's voice sounded, attracting his and Irika's attention. Hearing this, Mizuki, who was already desperate and could not accept the reality, was stunned and then laughed wildly. Ha 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 ha! Yes, Uzumaki Naruto is the fox demon who killed your parents and made you an orphan 12 years ago. Kamisato Tsukika, you chose to save the fox demon that killed your parents. What would your parents think if they knew? It must be very interesting, right? Mizuki opened his mouth and panted to mock Kamisato Tsukika. He looked at Kamisato Tsukika with a vicious look, provoking Kamisato Tsukika. Yuka, it's not like that. Naruto. Irika hurriedly opened his mouth anxiously, wanting to explain to Kamisato Yuka. But before Irika could finish what he said, Kamisato Yuka interrupted him. No need to say more, teacher Irika. I understand, Kamisato Yuka said, looking at Mizuki, who was looking at him with resentment on the ground, and then looked at Uzumaki Naruto. You said that no one would agree with Naruto. Irika also hates Naruto. Everyone is resentful of Naruto. It was Naruto who killed our parents, relatives, and friends. Kamisato Yuka opened his mouth, looking at Uzumaki Naruto's nervous, confused, and helpless face, and sighed in his heart. This poor child took a big blame for Nine Tails. But if he didn't agree with Naruto, if he really hated Naruto, would Irika-sensei use his body to block the attack for Naruto regardless of life and death? If he didn't agree with Naruto, why would Uncle Ichiraku prepare special ramen for Naruto every time, always leaving a bowl of ramen pretending to be unsold waiting for Naruto's arrival? If he didn't agree with Naruto, how could Shikamaru, who is so smart, accompany Naruto to skip classes? Chai, who is so greedy, would not pass the last piece of potato chips to Naruto's mouth. Although my parents died in the Fox Demon Rebellion, I don't think that Naruto, this stupid guy, is a fox demon. I don't see the killing, tyranny, and destruction that fox demons symbolize in Naruto. What I see is just Uzumaki Naruto, who has few friends, is alienated by most people, and is obviously in the dark and lonely, but tries to live like the sun to illuminate others. Mizuki. Remember, Naruto is not a fox demon. He is Konohagakure's Uzumaki Naruto. Kamisato Uehwa looked at Mizuki again, her voice resounding. Uehwa. Irika looked at Kamisato Uehwa in the moonlight, his eyes brimming with relief and tears. Naruto, however, was already in tears, his eyes streaming. Only Mizuki was stunned. He didn't expect Kamisato Uehwa to say such a thing. Not to mention Mizuki, the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had been watching with a telescope in the Hokage's office, didn't expect Kamisato Uehwa to say such a thing. For a while, although the place became quiet, the hearts of several people were surging like waves. Who is it? However, before Irika and Uzumaki Naruto could calm down, Kamisato Uehwa seemed to have discovered something. He looked at the forest and spoke sharply, while posing a defensive posture. This made the hearts of the two people lifted again. Umbu. A voice sounded, and several people looked over and saw three people appearing in the forest. The three people were wearing Umbu uniforms and masks on their faces, making it difficult to see their appearance. But it was still possible to see that the three people were one woman and two men. The one walking in front was the only woman. She was tall and had purple hair. Chapter 5. Third Generation. A genius not inferior to Orochimaru. Third Generation Master. This is what happened. When I was training, I saw Naruto carrying a scroll and moving quickly, so I followed him out of curiosity, and then, in the Hokage's office, Kamisato Tsukika explained to Sarutobi Hiruzen why she was there at night. Naruto and Irika were in the hospital. Well, I understand. Good job, Tsukika. After listening to Kamisato Tsukika's explanation, looking at Kamisato Tsukika's open face, Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded to Kamisato Tsukika with a kind expression. He naturally knew why Kamisato Tsukika was there, because he knew Kamisato Tsukika's living habits better than anyone else in the village. After all, this is the only civilian genius among the younger generation in the village. And in Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart, Kamisato Tsukika is a civilian genius who can become a Chunin in the future at the worst, so it is naturally worth his attention. It is for this reason that Sarutobi Hiruzen did not stop Kamisato Tsukika from intervening in this incident. Of course, it doesn't matter whether Kamisato Uehwa intervenes in this matter or not. Everything is under his control. Uehwa, what technique did you use to defeat Mizuki? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked Kamisato Uehwa again. His face looked solemn. He actually knew that it was the 8 inner gates, and he also knew that it was taught to Kamisato Uehwa by Might Guy. But there was one thing that Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't expect. That is, Kamisato Uehwa would be so talented in practicing the 8 inner gates. Hearing this, Kamisato Uehwa did not hesitate and said directly, "It is the 8 inner gates technique, which was taught to me by Might Guy teacher." At this point, Kamisato Uehwa deliberately paused and then became a little nervous. Third Generation Master, this won't be a problem, right? Sorry, I pestered Might Guy to teach me. Might Guy, it turned out to be 8 inner gates. It's okay. 8 inner gates is Guy's family secret technique. He has the right to teach you this technique. And Guy also told me. Seeing through Kamisato Uehwa's worries, Sarutobi Hiruzen interrupted Kamisato Uehwa and said comfortingly, "Uehwa, it seems that you have practiced 8 inner gates very well, and you can already defeat a Chunin in the village. Great. It's still a long way to go. I'm only practicing the 4th gate now." Sarutobi Hiruzen was shocked when he heard this. Although he had guessed when he saw Kamisato Uehwa's speed through the crystal ball, he couldn't help but be shocked when he heard Kamisato Uehwa say that she had practiced the 4th gate. It is not difficult to practice the 8 inner gates to the 4th gate injury gate. As long as you are willing to spend time and work hard, almost every Chunin can do it. But being able to do it does not mean that you can do it in less than a year like Kamisato Tsukika. Not to mention, you can do it at the age of 12. The last person who practiced the 4th gate injury gate in 1 year was Lee, Might Guy's direct disciple. The one before that was Might Guy. And Might Guy is now a genuine elite genin in the village. And Kamisato Tsukika is different from Might Guy and Lee. Might Guy and Lee spent almost all their time practicing the 8 inner gates. The two of them can be said to know nothing about ninjutsu and jinjutsu. As for Kamisato Tsukika, Sarutobi Hiruzen knows very well that Kamisato Tsukika has not neglected other practices except the 8 inner gates. His ninjutsu, jinjutsu, and his taijutsu are extremely excellent. He is really a genius who is not inferior to Orochimaru. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed inwardly. If Mizuki hadn't been so careless, I might have been defeated. No, I would have been the one who was killed. Kamisato Uehua naturally didn't know the shock in Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart. He just spoke shyly and then showed a scared expression. Fortunately, Mizuki was careless at that time. Otherwise, the Book of Seals would have been taken away by him. Hearing Kamisato Uehua say this, Sarutobi Hiruzen was very relieved, but his face became serious, and he said to Kamisato Uehua, "No, Uehua, you are wrong. It is not terrible to have the Book of Seals taken away. In comparison, your lives, Naruto, and Irika are more important." Hearing this, Kamisato Uehua was stunned for a moment, and then pretended to be moved. And Sarutobi Hiruzen continued kindly, "Speaking of which, I haven't been to the ninja school for a long time to watch your actual combat exercises. I didn't expect you to be able to defeat Shinin. Uehua boy, can you let me see your current strength?" "See my strength?" Kamisato Tsukika thought a lot in her mind, but her face remained unchanged, and she agreed. "Okay, 3rd generation master. Let's go to the number 3 training ground. There are many training grounds in Konoha and the No. 3 training ground is located near the Death Forest, which is a relatively remote training ground. But remoteness also has an advantage, that is quietness. Training here will hardly be disturbed, and even if you use ninjutsu, it will not attract the attention of ordinary civilians in the village. After the old and the young came to the training ground, they both looked forward to it. Sarutobi Hiruzen was looking forward to Kamisato Tsukika's strength and wanted to see how talented this genius was. And Kamisato Tsukika was thinking about whether he could get some benefits from Sarutobi Hiruzen. "Come on, let me see the strength of the chief student." Sarutobi Hiruzen stood opposite Kamisato Tsukika and spoke. His words determined Kamisato Tsukika's status as the chief student. Originally, Sarutobi Hiruzen actually preferred Uchiha Sasuke, thinking that Uchiha Sasuke was the chief student this year. But today, Kamisato Tsukika's performance really surprised him. She had just graduated from the ninja school, but she was able to defeat a Chunin. "I'm sorry, 3rd generation master." Kamisato Tsukika's face was solemn, and she took a deep breath. Although she was not prepared to go all out, Kamisato Tsukika also wanted to know how strong she was in the 4th gate state. 8 inner gates, 4th gate, injury gate, open. Swish! Chakra emanated from Kamisato Tsukika's body, and his whole body emitted a green glow. His clothes moved without wind, and his hair also swayed. Whoosh! Kamisato Tsukika started, and the speed was very fast. The whole person rushed out like a high-speed sports car. In just a moment, he had already arrived at Sarutobi Hiruzen's side. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Kamisato Tsukika's speed was very fast. He punched and kicked, and his fists rustled. There were afterimages on his hands and feet, and every blow was crisp and clean. This speed surprised Sarutobi Hiruzen secretly, so he planned to test Kamisato Tsukika's power. Bang, bang, bang. Sarutobi Hiruzen stopped dodging and fought Kamisato Tsukika directly. As soon as they fought, Sarutobi Hiruzen felt a huge surprise again, because Kamisato Tsukika was not only fast, but also powerful. This speed and power completely reached the level of Chunin. Chapter 6. The 3rd generation failed to show off. Sarutobi Hiruzen was shocked as he kept blocking Kamisato Tsukika's attacks. If we only talk about speed and strength, Kamisato Tsukika has definitely reached the level of Chunin. Even though Kamisato Tsukika's skills and experience are still immature, Kamisato Tsukika's reaction speed is too fast. With the ability to adapt to the situation, she actually made up for the lack of experience and skills. If it were just this, it would not be enough to shock Sarutobi Hiruzen so much. After all, Konoha has 12-year-old Jinin. In Sarutobi Hiruzen's mind, Hatake Kakashi was stronger than Kamisato Tsukika when he was 12 years old. The reason why Sarutobi Hiruzen was so shocked was that he could clearly feel the improvement of Kamisato Tsukika. In Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes, Kamisato Tsukika now was like a sponge that fell into the water, madly absorbing his combat experience. This shocked Sarutobi Hiruzen and made him serious. He was no longer just defending, but took the initiative to attack, showing Kamisato Tsukika his physical skills and combat experience. Kamisato Tsukika was naturally not polite to Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was so considerate of her experience book and openly learned Sarutobi Hiruzen's skills and experience. The two continued to fight until a long time later, when Sarutobi Hiruzen stopped. It was not that all his skills and experience were learned by Kamisato Tsukika, but Sarutobi Hiruzen believed that Kamisato Tsukika now had enough of these things today. After all, Kamisato Tsukika had just opened the fourth gate injury gate. Although it felt that Kamisato Tsukika had already been like a fish in water in the fourth gate injury gate, she was at ease, but she could not grow up in one breath, and growth required a process. More haste makes waste, and Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted Kamisato Tsukika to walk more steadily. Kamisato Tsukika also sighed in her heart. After all, Sarutobi Hiruzen has such a good experience book. If he missed this opportunity, he would not know when he could break through him again. But there was no way. Kamisato Tsukika could not reveal that she was able to open the 6th gate Jingmen or even the 7th gate Jingmen. Being able to open the 4th gate in 1 year can be called a genius. If he could open the 5th gate, he could be called a genius in physical skills. But if he could open the 6th gate or even the 7th gate after practicing the 8 inner gates technique for 1 year, he would not be a human being. Sarutobi Hiruzen was fine, but Kamisato Tsukika did not want to enter Shimura Dan's sight so early. After all, Shimura Dan's might uproot him or use his cells for experiments. Very good, Yuehua. Your taijutsu has surpassed the level of Chunin. I don't blame you for defeating Mizuki. You are worthy of being the genius of our Konoha. Looking at Kamisato Yuehua, who was still savoring the battle just now, Sarutobi Hiruzen said with a smile, feeling very happy in his heart, and happy that such a genius appeared in the village. Third generation master, you are too kind. I am only a little bit better in taijutsu, and I'm still far from ninjutsu and jinjutsu. Kamiri Yuehua said modestly, and her heart was not moved by Sarutobi Hiruzen's praise. But Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly had an idea. Speaking of which, I don't know how good your ninjutsu and jinjutsu are. Since you have shown your taijutsu, let's show them together. This time, use all your abilities. Come on, chief student. Kamiri Yuehua's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he saw that the experience book was coming again. Without hesitation, Kamisato Yuehua attacked Sarutobi Hiruzen again. Kamisato Yuehua raised her hand and shot out several kunai. The angles of these kunai are very tricky and the speed is very fast. Under the cover of the moonlight, if it is a Chunin like Mizuki, I am afraid that he can't dodge it at all. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen is the 3rd Hokage. Even if he is old and weak and his strength has declined significantly, he is still an absolute Kage level. These kunai naturally can't do anything to Sarutobi Hiruzen. But Kamisato Tsukika's attack is not just kunai. When Sarutobi Hiruzen retreated to dodge, his body suddenly stiffened. Illusion? Release it. In just a moment, the stiff Sarutobi Hiruzen recovered. He had just planted Kamisato Tsukika's illusion. It must be said that Kamisato Tsukika's illusion release speed and timing are extremely clever, which made Sarutobi Hiruzen fall into it. But that illusion is too bad. It is the most basic illusion taught to students in the ninja school, so it was instantly released by Sarutobi Hiruzen. It was not surprising for Kamisato Tsukika to see her illusion being broken. If even Sarutobi Hiruzen could not break this illusion, it would be a real surprise. Clone technique. While running, Kamisato Tsukika formed seals with both hands, and more than 10 clones appeared and went towards Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had landed and surrounded Sarutobi Hiruzen. This is an ordinary clone technique, not shadow clone, and has no actual combat ability. But at night, ordinary clones have good, confusing abilities. Kamisato Tsukika's clones are very clever and realistic. If it were daytime, Sarutobi Hiruzen might be able to tell who is the clone in an instant. But now it is night, and there are many clones of Kamisato Tsukika, so Sarutobi Hiruzen cannot see through these clones at a glance. And Kamisato Tsukika wants this opportunity. Kamisato Tsukika rushed forward and attacked Sarutobi Hiruzen. This made Sarutobi Hiruzen confused, but he guessed Kamisato Tsukika's tactics in just 1 or 2 seconds. Bang, bang, bang. The clones were broken in Sarutobi Hiruzen's hands. In just a few seconds, there was only 1 clone left out of more than 10 clones. It was also the one behind Sarutobi Hiruzen. Of course, this one was deliberately left by Sarutobi Hiruzen for the last. It's a good idea to use the night and the clones to interfere with my vision and sneak attack from my blind spot in the chaos. It's good to be able to think of such a tactic in such a short time. Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke with his back to Kamisato Tsukika. He didn't turn around and was very confident. But your tactic has a fatal flaw. It's correct to use clones to confuse others, but this use is generally used to escape or lure, not to fight. When your clone took the initiative to attack me, your true intention was exposed. Sarutobi Hiruzen said confidently, turned around, and looked at the last Kamisato Tsukika under the moonlight. However, after he turned around, his face changed slightly. Because the last Kamisato Tsukika in front of him, the real Kamisato Tsukika in his mouth, is still a clone. Guess wrong. 3rd generation master. A voice sounded behind Sarutobi Hiruzen. Not far from Sarutobi Hiruzen, a kunai had turned into Kamisato Tsukika, and now holding the kunai, stabbed Sarutobi Hiruzen in the back. Sarutobi Hiruzen failed to pretend. Chapter 7. Learn in one go. All attribute chakra? Sarutobi Hiruzen's guess was right, but not completely right. Using clone technique to confuse vision and launch a sneak attack is indeed Kamisato Tsukika's tactic. But the most critical part of Kamisato Tsukika's tactic is not clone technique, but transformation technique. This is the most basic ninjutsu, one of the required ninjutsu for every ninja school student. It is also one of the simplest ninjutsu in the entire ninja world. But simple does not mean useless. Transformation technique is a useful ninjutsu even in the later part of the plot, in the Boruto legend, which has made Tsutsuki Kagaya and Tsutsuki Momoshiki suffer. And now, Sarutobi Hiruzen has suffered a loss and was tricked by Kamisato Tsukika with transformation technique. Ding 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 ding. Under the moonlight, an old man and a young man held kunai and collided quickly, and every time they fought, there were sparks flying and ding ding. This is a kunai confrontation, but it is not all a kunai confrontation. It was still a battle of physical skills, ninjutsu, and illusion. Ding! After another collision, Sarutobi Hiruzen stopped on his own initiative. It was still the same reason as before. It was not that he was unwilling to teach Kamisato Tsukika his experience, but Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted Kamisato Tsukika to be specialized rather than complicated. Very good. Your understanding and mastery of ninjutsu and illusion, and the timing of releasing ninjutsu and illusion have reached the level above elite chunin. What you lack now is only powerful skills. Your skills are too few and too weak. Sarutobi Hiruzen was very satisfied with Kamisato Tsukika, and it can be said that he couldn't be more satisfied. Because of this fight, Kamisato Tsukika proved to him that Kamisato Tsukika was not just a physical skills genius like Might Guy and Rock Lee, but a comprehensive genius with all-round development of ninjutsu, physical skills, and illusion. Such Kamisato Tsukika made Sarutobi Hiruzen think of 2 people in his mind. One is his disciple Orochimaru, and the other is Hatake Kakashi, the current elite of the village. No way. These are the only ninjutsu taught in the ninja school. Kamisato Tsukika pretended to be helpless and said, in fact, he has mastered many techniques and they're all extremely powerful techniques. But Kamisato Tsukika did not choose to expose those techniques. Ha ha ha. Indeed, there are too few techniques to learn in the ninja school. But don't worry, you have graduated and you will learn many powerful techniques later. Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke to comfort. Kamisato Tsukika's eyes lit up when he heard it. Then third-generation master, can you teach me powerful ninjutsu? Sarutobi Hiruzen heard it, looked at Kamisato Tsukika's cunning eyes, and couldn't help nodding and smiling. After all, he still has some childish mentality. He sighed in his heart. Okay, I'll teach you a ninjutsu today. Let me think about it. Well, I'll teach you the Great Fireball Technique. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought about it for a while and decided what technique to teach Kamisato Tsukika. Strictly speaking, the Great Fireball Technique is a ninjutsu of the Uchiha clan, and he has no right to teach it to Kamisato Tsukika. Doing so violates the village's rules. However, as the third Hokage of Konoha, what does it matter if it violates the rules? Uchiha Sasuke is the only one left in the Uchiha clan now. So who would object to teaching the Great Fireball Technique to someone who is not from the Uchiha clan? Konoha village is still up to Sarutobi Hiruzen. The Great Fireball Technique is a powerful fire-style secret technique that is very powerful and can turn the enemy into ashes in the flames in an instant. After saying that, Sarutobi Hiruzen began to make hand seals. The seal of the Great Fireball Technique is like this, and the technique is... Sarutobi Hiruzen explained the technique of the Great Fireball Technique to Kamisato Tsukika while performing the seal. However, before he finished speaking, Kamisato Uehua moved. Fire-style Great Fireball Technique. Boom! Flames were exhaled from Kamisato Uehua's mouth and quickly grew larger, becoming a giant great fireball with a diameter of more than 3 meters, emitting a fiery breath. The heat wave rushed to Sarutobi Hiruzen's face, and under the light of the fire, the shock on his face could be clearly seen. After several seconds, Kamisato Uehua stopped transmitting chakra and let the fireball dissipate. Sure enough, it's so strong. Thank you, third-generation master's ninjutsu. Kamisato Uehua pretended to be surprised and spoke, looking very happy. In terms of acting, he is definitely at the level of an actor. As expected of a genius chief student, Uehua, your Great Fireball Technique is used very well, surpassing many people. Sarutobi Hiruzen suppressed the shock in his heart and spoke, looking at Kamisato Uehua with a happy face, and couldn't help but feel an impulse in his heart. Well, I'll teach you a more powerful technique. This technique is called Wind-Style Great Breakthrough Technique. Sarutobi Hiruzen made a seal again. This time, Sarutobi Hiruzen did not deliberately slow down the speed of making a seal. However, after just watching it once, Kamisato Tsukika made a seal. Wind-Style Great Breakthrough Technique. A strong wind blew out of Kamisato Tsukika's mouth, stirring up a sky full of sand on the training ground, making the trees beside the training ground tremble. It's amazing, just as powerful as the Great Fireball Technique just now. Kamiri Tsukika spoke with shining eyes, and after a second of hesitation, she continued with some regret. It would be great if these two techniques could be released at the same time. Fire borrows the wind, and wind helps the fire. The combination of wind and fire must be stronger. As soon as these words came out, Sarutobi Hiruzen was shocked again. Kamiri Tsukika had actually thought of the attribute reaction of the technique. This was a bit beyond Sarutobi Hiruzen's imagination. After all, although many ninjas know how to perform combination ninjutsu, there are very few who can think of combination ninjutsu at the age of 12 after first contacting different attributes of ninjutsu. In Sarutobi Hiruzen's memory, the last person who was so good seemed to be his disciple Orochimaru. And thinking of this, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly remembered something. Yuka, input chakra into this paper and try. As he said, Sarutobi Hiruzen took out a piece of paper from his ninja bag. This is chakra paper, which can detect the attributes of chakra possessed by ninjas. Although Kamisato Yuka had never seen chakra paper before, he knew very well that this was definitely it after reading the original work. Taking the chakra paper, Kamisato Yuka directly input his chakra into it. Then, in Sarutobi Hiruzen's shocked eyes, the chakra paper changed. One area of the chakra paper caught fire, one area was split, one area became wrinkled, one area became wet, and one area was broken. This is fire, wind, thunder, water, and earth, 5 types of chakra. Kamisato Yuehua is actually the owner of 5 types of chakra. No, it may be more than that, because chakra paper can only detect the 5 types of chakra: fire, wind, thunder, water, and earth, and the other 2 types of yin and yang cannot be checked. So, will Kamisato Yuehua also have yin and yang attributes? Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but think of those 2 people again, Orochimaru and Hatake Kakashi. They are both people who have all the chakra attributes. Chapter 8I, the 3rd generation. I am the most suitable teacher for him. Kamisato Tsukika. Could it be that he also has all attribute chakra? Thinking of this possibility, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Kamisato Tsukika with a fiery look. After all, ninjas with all attribute chakra are too rare. Sarutobi Hiruzen has seen countless ninjas in the past decades, but there are only a few ninjas with all attribute chakra. Although it is not said that people with all attribute chakra will definitely achieve great success in the future. But as far as Sarutobi Hiruzen knows, ninjas with all attribute chakra have achieved great success. His teacher, Konoha's 2nd Hokage, Senju Tobirama, himself, and his disciple Orochimaru, and the village's elite Hatake Kakashi. For people with all attribute chakra, 2 of them became Hokage, and 1 was called Sannin. The last one also became one of the most important elite ninjas in the village, and one of the candidates for the 5th Hokage. It can be said that each of them has made great achievements and can become excellent Konoha shinobi when they grow up. Except Orochimaru. Recalling the disciple who once made him proud, Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Orochimaru is also a very good ninja, but he is no longer a ninja of Konoha. His path has gone astray. Thinking of this, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Kamisato Tsukika again. Although Kamisato Tsukika in front of him is still a teenager, and his strength is only at the level of Junin. However, Kamisato Tsukika is now as important as Uzumaki Naruto in Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart, because Sarutobi Hiruzen knows very well that Kamisato Tsukika in front of him is very likely to be a more talented ninja than Orochimaru. Such a genius is very important to the future of Konoha, because once trained properly, Kamisato Tsukika is very likely to be the next 2nd Hokage, Senju Tobirama, the next 3rd Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen. If trained improperly, Kamisato Tsukika may be the next Hatake Kakashi. Thinking of Hatake Kakashi, Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed again. He once had high hopes for Hatake Kakashi, but unfortunately, a series of changes occurred later, which led to Hatake Kakashi not reaching the height he should have reached. Starting from the death of Hatake Tsukumo, Hatake Kakashi's path has gone astray. Later, his teammates Uchiha Obito and Noara Rin died in battle one after another, which dealt a great blow to Hatake Kakashi. Until the end, his mentor, 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato, also died in the Nine Tails Rebellion, which became the last straw that broke the camel's back, making Hatake Kakashi almost completely useless. But even so, Hatake Kakashi can become a famous copy ninja in the ninja world and become an elite Chunin of Konoha. And once Kamisato Tsukika goes astray, Kamisato Tsukika may be the next Orochimaru. It is even possible that the degree of harm is higher than Orochimaru. Therefore, the training of Kamisato Tsukika has become a very important thing in Sarutobi Hiruzen's mind. Thinking about it, Sarutobi Hiruzen began to think in his heart, which class Kamisato Tsukika should be put into. In fact, The students of Kamisato Tsukika's class have already been allocated in Sarutobi Hiruzen's mind. Haiga Hinata, Inazuka Kiba, and Aburam Shino, who are good at reconnaissance perception, are assigned to one class, led by Junin Yuhi Kurenai. The fixed combination of Ino Shika, CH Yamanaka Ino, Nara Shikamaru, and Akimichi Chai are assigned to one class, led by his son Sarutobi Asuma. One of these two classes is difficult to split, and the other cannot be split. The last bloodline of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Sasuke, and Uzumaki Naruto of Nine Tails Jinchuriki also need to be in the same class, and Sarutobi Hiruzen intends to let Hatake Kakashi lead this class. The reason is simple. Both Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto are too important. One is the last bloodline of the Uchiha clan, and the other is Nine Tails Jinchuriki. They will play a very important role in the village in the future. Therefore, these two people cannot be lost. Their growth needs protection and monitoring. Therefore, the teacher who leads them must be strong and must be a person of the Hokage lineage, a candidate for the future Hokage. And Hatake Kakashi is undoubtedly the one who meets these conditions the most. As for Haruno Sakura, Sarutobi Hiruzen put Haruno Sakura in this class for a deep meaning. Uzumaki Naruto likes Haruno Sakura, and Haruno Sakura likes Uchiha Sasuke. With Haruno Sakura, the three of them have a high probability of forming a bond. However, Haruno Sakura is not indispensable. Sarutobi Hiruzen is thinking whether he should put Kamisato Tsukika in Hatake Kakashi's class, or he can dismantle the perception detection class and put Kamisato Tsukika in that class. But after thinking about it, Sarutobi Hiruzen felt that neither of them was suitable. Whether it was from the perspective of the teacher or Kamisato Tsukika herself, it was not suitable. Although Yuhi Kurenai and Hatake Kakashi are both excellent ninjas, Yuhi Kurenai is only a grandmaster of illusions and can't teach Kamisato Tsukika anything. Hatake Kakashi knows all ninjutsu, and he's also a grandmaster of physical and illusions, and he's also a full attribute chakra ninja. Logically, he is the most suitable person to teach Kamisato Tsukika. But Hatake Kakashi's heart has not been untied, and Sarutobi Hiruzen is afraid that Hatake Kakashi will teach Kamisato Tsukika useless. Besides, although Kamisato Tsukika has just graduated, her strength has undoubtedly reached the standard of Junin. What she lacks is only experience. With such strength, she can no longer be taught in the normal way of teaching graduates. No matter which class she is in, Kamisato Tsukika will become a very abrupt existence. Thinking of this, Sarutobi Hiruzen had a slight headache. If Orochimaru had not defected, it would be the most suitable for him to teach this child. After all, they are both full attribute chakra ninjas. Wait, full attribute chakra. I think I am too. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes lit up. He actually forgot himself. Kamisato Tsukika's best teacher is Sarutobi Hiruzen himself. They are both full attribute chakra. In terms of mastering ninjutsu, he is a ninjutsu doctor, and in terms of strength, he is the Hokage of Konoha. No matter from which aspect, he is the most suitable teacher for Kamisato Tsukika. Moreover, since he was worried that Kamisato Uehua would be trained improperly or grow up in a wrong way by others, then he would train her himself. Orochimaru has always been a pain in his heart, and Sarutobi Hiruzen does not want to see the past happen again. He wants to train an Orochimaru who has not gone astray. Thinking of this, Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart became active. Uehua, do you know Umbu in the village? Sarutobi Hiruzen said to Kamisato Uehua, which made Kamisato Uehua stunned. Umbu, Chapter 9 Great Harvest. I want to become a god. When Kamisato Tsukika returned to her cabin, it was already late at night. At the training ground, Sarutobi Hiruzen introduced Umbu to Kamisato Tsukika in detail and said that Kamisato Tsukika would join Umbu and be directly under the management of Hokage. After confirming Kamisato Tsukika's next arrangements, Sarutobi Hiruzen talked to Kamisato Tsukika about another thing. That is, Kamisato Tsukika's physique. Because Sarutobi Hiruzen found that after Kamisato Tsukika opened the fourth gate of the 8 inner gates, not only did it last for a long time, but the sequelae after closing the wound gate were surprisingly mild. This is very wrong. After all, no matter whether his Might Guy or Rock Lee, every time they open the fourth gate and above the 8 gates, they will be accompanied by serious sequelae. Might Guy is okay. After all, he has practiced the 8 inner gates for a long time. If he just opens the fourth gate, although there are sequelae, they are very mild, similar to Kamisato Tsukika now. But Rock Lee, who had also cultivated to the fourth gate like Kamisato Tsukika, was different. Sarutobi Hiruzen had peeked at Rock Lee's appearance after he opened and closed the fourth gate. He seemed to be exhausted and his body was limp and unable to move. After Kamisato Tsukika opened and closed the wound gate, she was only slightly weak and recovered quickly. This was obviously against common sense. So Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately called a medical umbu to check Kamisato Tsukika's body. The result was naturally that there was no problem. Kamisato Tsukika's body had no abnormalities and was even healthier and stronger than a normal person's body. The reason why there was such a big difference between him and Rock Lee might be because of their different physiques. Kamisato Tsukika was a true physical genius, a genius who was more talented than Might Guy and Rock Lee. This surprised Sarutobi Hiruzen secretly, but at the same time, he was pleasantly surprised. After all, he had decided to personally train Kamisato Tsukika. The better Kamisato Tsukika's qualifications and the higher her potential, the happier he would naturally be. After returning to her cabin and washing up, Kamisato Yuehua lay on the bed and closed her eyes as if she was going to sleep. However, in her heart, Kamisato Yuehua had no desire to sleep at all. It was an unexpected surprise to get to know Sarutobi Hiruzen and become a member of Umbu. Kamisato Yuehua's main purpose tonight was the Book of Seals. Although in Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes, Kamisato Yuehua was just watching Uzumaki Naruto reading the Book of Seals on the tree, and it was impossible for her to remember or learn anything. But he didn't know that Kamisato Yuehua only watched Uzumaki Naruto reading the Book of Seals for a short moment, and she completely remembered the contents inside. It's really a fruitful harvest, multiple shadow clone technique for symbol sealing techniques, spiritualization technique, tandem paper bombs technique, reanimation jutsu, flying thunder god technique. I'm gonna take off directly. Looking at the forbidden technique of Konoha in her memory, Kamisato Yuehua suddenly wanted to laugh 3 times to express her excitement and joy. But Kamisato Yuehua immediately suppressed her excitement and began to think and plan. Multiple shadow clone technique is easy. You can learn it at a glance. The reason why this technique is a forbidden technique is not because of the difficulty of practice, but because it involves chakra and mental power. The principle is to use a huge amount of chakra to increase the number of shadow clone, and thousands of shadow clone can be separated at one time. But because this technique consumes too much chakra, and after dispersing shadow clone, it will instantly receive the memory of all shadow clone. If you don't have a huge amount of chakra and a strong mental power, you will hurt yourself or even endanger your life if you use this technique rashly. There is nothing to improve. Instead of starting with chakra and mental strength, it is better to start with Shadow Clone's other fatal flaw. Shadow Clone has the same combat power as the main body, but does not have the same defensive power as the main body. Although the Shadow Clone used by powerful ninjas has enhanced resistance to blows, even Naruto's Shadow Clone will shatter and disappear as long as it is hit by a knife. So, my next deduction of Shadow Clone should start with defensive power. This defensive power can be inspired by the body of Impure World Reincarnation or by the external incarnation in the myth of the previous life. Try to create a clone that can recover itself or has flesh and blood. However, for Impure World Reincarnation Shadow Clone, you have to thoroughly comprehend reanimation jutsu, and deduction and innovation are necessary. So we can change the way and start from the fixation and consumption of energy. You can try to combine the sealing technique and see if you can make the clone's injuries change from death to consumption of the energy it has, until the energy is exhausted and the clone dissipates. Kamiri Yuehua's mind was churning with thoughts and inspiration, and soon she thought of the deduction direction of shadow clone technique and multiple shadow clone technique. There are two directions that I can think of temporarily. One is the external incarnation of the flesh and blood body, and the other is the energy clone of the immortal body. But this is not urgent. It is not my urgent need. What I need most now are the other two techniques. Temporarily suppressing the urge to deduce shadow clone, Kamisato Yuehua put her mind on the other two techniques, Flying Thunder God Technique and Spiritualization Technique. Flying Thunder God Technique is naturally needless to say. It is simply an auxiliary divine technique that can attack and retreat. Whether it is the second Hokage, Senju Tobarama, or the fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato, their Flying Thunder God technique has left a deep impression on the entire ninja world. One is known as the fastest in the ninja world, and the other is known as the Yellow Flash. Both of them became the Hokage of Konoha, and because of the Flying Thunder God technique, they made the ninjas of other countries headache and helpless. They disliked them but couldn't kill them. This is the most real feeling and portrayal of the ninjas of other countries about the two. Kamisato Yuehua doesn't know when he can be invincible, but the Flying Thunder God technique can prevent him from being killed by others during his growth to the greatest extent. So the Flying Thunder God technique must be practiced. And there is a reason why Kamisato Yuehua puts the Spiritualization Technique in the same important position as the Flying Thunder God technique. Because the Spiritualization Technique involves the soul. And in this world, there are too few techniques involving the soul. Another technique that Kamisato Yuehua knows about that involve the soul is called the Shiki Fujin Technique, which even involves the gods. However, that technique is not in the Seal Book, or Uzumaki Naruto didn't find it. So, Kamisato Yuehua doesn't know the principle of that technique. But Kamisato Yuehua knows very well that the Shiki Fujin is a technique that sacrifices one's soul and perishes together with others. Even if Kamisato Yuehua has the Shiki Fujin technique now, he will not try it himself. Therefore, the Spiritualization Technique, which can make the soul leave the body, is rare and precious. Kamisato Yuehua wants to improve his soul essence and his understanding from the Spiritualization Technique, or even directly, turn his soul into a god. Chapter 10, Flying Thunder God Technique. Yes, the reason why Kamisato Yuehua attaches so much importance to the Spiritualization Technique is because of the soul and understanding. Although Kamisato Yuehua has the understanding of Heaven-Defying after crossing here, she can learn any ninjutsu at a glance and master it immediately. Not only did she deduce the eating sun and moon technique that absorbs the essence of the sun and the moon to temper her body, but she also deduced the 8 inner gates technique that can open the door permanently. However, this kind of understanding is ultimately limited. If understanding is unlimited, then Kamisato Yuehua may have seen through the rules of heaven and earth, comprehended the supreme way, and become an omniscient and omnipotent God. Therefore, in order to achieve that level in the future, Kamisato Yuehua needs to make her soul as strong as her body and become a real god, rather than a human with powerful power. And the Spiritualization Technique is the opportunity for Kamisato Yuehua to achieve her goal. After seriously comprehending the Spiritualization Technique, Kamisato Yuehua has mastered the Spiritualization Technique. After he confirmed that he was not being monitored by the 3rd generation, or Umbu, he made a seal. Suddenly, Kamisato Yuehua appeared in the soul state. Lurking in the air, the soul Kamisato Yuehua looked at his body lying on the bed, and a strange feeling rose in his heart. Then, he controlled his soul to fly in the wooden house for a while and rushed directly to the roof. Without any obstruction, Kamisato Yuehua's soul went through the roof and appeared on the wooden house. What a wonderful feeling! These tangible things that the body can feel are like 3D projections for the soul, becoming illusory. Looking at his hands and body, Kamisato Yuehua said to himself, according to the plot in the original book, the soul seems to be visible and invisible. The souls of those in the Impure World Reincarnation can be seen by people, but the souls of Shinigami and casters who have been to the Shiki Fujin cannot be seen by ordinary people. Whether the soul in the state of the spirit technique can be seen by people seems to be unclear. Can it be chosen by oneself? Thinking about the plot in the original book, Kamisato Tsukika became interested in the visibility of the soul. To be on the safe side, it is better not to wander around the village. After all, this is the ninja world, and no one knows whether the perception ninja can perceive the soul. However, I can perceive the souls of others in the soul state. This feeling is very clear, just like opening a small map in a game and being able to see the location of the object you want to pay attention to. Interesting, very interesting. After a simple experiment, Kamisato Tsukika's soul returned to her body. The person who created the spiritualization technique is truly amazing, but his ability is limited after all, and he was unable to further develop the spiritualization technique from a killing tool into the key to the evolution of the soul and the path to becoming a god. But leave the rest to me. The deduction of the spiritualization technique is my most important task next. I will turn the spiritualization technique into the deification technique. However, compared to the deification technique, it seems that the deification technique sounds better. After muttering to himself, Kamisato Tsukika began to deduce the spiritualization technique with all his strength. A night passed like this. The next morning, Kamisato Tsukika opened his eyes. His brows were slightly furrowed, and he looked a little tired. Because Kamisato Tsukika didn't fall asleep the whole night yesterday, but deduced the spiritualization technique all night. Sure enough, it's not so easy to get results when it comes to things involving the soul. Moreover, I have too little experience in the soul, and it's very difficult to deduce. Even if I combine the knowledge of the soul in Impure World Reincarnation, it's still difficult to get started. It seems that when Shinin takes the exam, he really has to meet Orochimaru. His self-created living corpse reincarnation technique also involves the study of the soul. Although the biggest problem with the living corpse reincarnation technique is also in the soul, it is a rare experience after all. Kamiri Tsukika thought to himself, and had already set his sights on Orochimaru. However, he has been planning to take advantage of Orochimaru for a long time. A long time ago, when Kamisato Tsukika was planning to deduce Sage Mode, Kamisato Tsukika had already planned to take advantage of Orochimaru. Now, he is just reinforcing this decision. It seems that the research on the spiritualization technique should be put aside for now. If I need to face Sannin directly during the Chunin exam, my current ability is obviously not enough. So, I need to learn the Flying Thunder God technique first and try to deduce and innovate it. Even if I can't go further, I must be able to use it skillfully and integrate it. Thinking that the Chunin exam will be in a few months, Kamisato Tsukika can't help but feel a sense of urgency. In his plan, that will be a critical time point. Changing the next research direction, Kamisato Tsukika washed and ate, and then devoted himself to the research of Flying Thunder God technique. Flying Thunder God technique is a ninjutsu created by second Hokage Senju Tobirama, which can be used for instant teleportation through the Flying Thunder God technique. This is a technique that requires a lot of talent. It is completely different in the hands of people with different talents. In the hands of Senju Tobirama and Namikaze Minato, Flying Thunder God technique is an instantaneous technique of teleportation, without pre-swing or post-swing, elusive, and hard to defend. But in the hands of ninjas with insufficient talent, this is a teleportation ninjutsu with a slow casting process, which is not as practical as body flicker technique. It can be said that Flying Thunder God technique requires extremely high talent conditions for the caster. Those who can master Flying Thunder God technique are already one in a million, and those who can skillfully use Flying Thunder God technique are even more one in a million. Kamisato Tsukika was also worried before she studied seriously, fearing that her body was not suitable for Flying Thunder God technique. But this worry soon disappeared, because Kamisato Tsukika only took one day to carve out her own Flying Thunder God technique and teleported between techniques. His physical talent is very suitable for Flying Thunder God technique. It was not until the evening that Kamisato Tsukika after the excitement, remembered that he forgot to go back to the ninja school to attend the graduation ceremony and class division. Anyway, I have decided to go to Umbu, and the class division has nothing to do with me. As for the graduation ceremony, I don't think anyone will care, right? Kamiri Uehua easily convinced himself, completely ignoring some little girls who were disappointed all day today. Sure enough, Flying Thunder God is more interesting. Chapter 11. Little fangirl Ino, because he was too obsessed with the practice of Flying Thunder God technique, Kamisato Uehua forgot about the graduation ceremony. But as Kamisato Uehua said, it didn't matter whether he went or not, because Kamisato Uehua would report to Umbu in 2 days. The 3-day holiday was specially reserved for him by the third Hokage. He said that it was for Kamisato Uehua to get together with friends and classmates. Originally, Kamisato Uehua also planned to attend the graduation ceremony, walk around with everyone, eat ramen or something. But now, Kamisato Uehua canceled this plan. He wants to practice Flying Thunder God technique. How to say it? It is not difficult for Kamisato Uehua, who has the talent of time and space ninjutsu, to learn Flying Thunder God technique. He succeeded in portraying the Flying Thunder God technique in one go. But Flying Thunder God technique is different from other ninjutsu. This technique pays attention to the degree of practice and a kind of feeling. For other ninjutsu, you just need to make the seals fast enough and use them at the right time. This kind of hands-free ninjutsu is very simple for Kamisato Tsukika. But Flying Thunder God technique requires extremely high proficiency and reaction speed of a user. If the reaction speed is not fast enough, then after using Flying Thunder God technique to teleport, the whole person will be at a loss. You can't even tell east, west, south, north, let alone attack others. If you want to use Flying Thunder God technique as skillfully as second Hokage and fourth Hokage, you need to constantly adapt to the feeling of the sudden change of the world and quickly react back from that switching feeling and make corresponding judgments and actions. In other words, it is the feel. This feeling and reaction require practice. Fortunately, Kamisato Tsukika's physique is strong enough, and her physical attributes are much better than ordinary people, and her reaction ability is quite outstanding. This is why Kamisato Tsukika mastered Flying Thunder God technique in just 1 day and became proficient and improved through continuous practice. In the next 2 days, Kamisato Uehua planned to practice Flying Thunder God technique. After he thoroughly understood Flying Thunder God technique, he would deduce and innovate Flying Thunder God technique to see if he could go further. As for the direction of deduction and innovation, it was naturally very simple. It was nothing more than optimizing the Flying Thunder God technique to make the technique more secretive and simple. He could even directly optimize the Flying Thunder God technique to turn the fixed point transmission of Flying Thunder God technique into free movement. As for exploring the power of space and time through Flying Thunder God technique, so that he could master the power of space and time, this was not what Kamisato Uehua should think about now. With his understanding, he cannot do this. After making a plan, Kamisato Uehua devoted himself to the research of Flying Thunder God technique. However, Kamisato Uehua did not go to see those classmates and friends, but those classmates and friends took the initiative to come to him. Is Uehua going home? Hearing the clear and slightly nervous voice outside, Kamisato Uehua was not surprised and got up to open the door, because he saw the person coming when he was practicing the Flying Thunder God technique just now. This is also the reason why Kamisato Uehua is in the room at this time. Ino, what do you want to talk to me about? Looking at the beautiful young girl in front of him, Kamisato Uehua asked. But he had already guessed the reason for Ino's arrival. Because Uehua-kun didn't come to the graduation ceremony and class division yesterday, I wondered if Uehua-kun was delayed by something. So I came to visit him. Looking at Kamisato Uehua's handsome and cute face, Yamanaka Ino's heart was already filled with pink bubbles, and her pretty little face couldn't help but blush slightly. I was planning to visit Uehua yesterday, but after the class division, I went to eat barbecue with Asuma and the others until late, so I didn't bother Uehua. Yamanaka Ino explained again, and then asked curiously, were you delayed yesterday by something? We are all divided into classes, but it's strange that I didn't hear your name in any class. Is that so? I was indeed delayed by something yesterday. I'm sorry that I couldn't go to the graduation ceremony. As for the class division, the village has made arrangements for me, but I can't tell you now. You will know later. Kamisato Uehua scratched her head, pretending to be embarrassed. I see. No wonder I didn't hear Uehua's name. But Uehua is worthy of being the top student of this class. It's amazing that the village can arrange it for you, Yamanaka Ino said, with little stars in her eyes, and the whole person looked very happy and excited, as if she was the person involved. Little Sakura and Sasuke looked so funny yesterday when they heard that Tsukika-kun was announced as the top student. Speaking of this, Yamanaka Ino covered her mouth and laughed. This is also the reason why she is so happy. In Kamisato Tsukika's class, the girls in the entire ninja school can be said to be divided into two factions. The fans of Uchiha Sasuke and the fans of Kamisato Tsukika are each a faction, and Haruno Sakura and Yamanaka Ino are the representatives of the two factions. The two sides quarreled fiercely over who is stronger and more handsome between Uchiha Sasuke and Kamisato Tsukika, and they were almost at the point of being incompatible. So even though Yamanaka Ino no longer competed with Haruno Sakura for Uchiha Sasuke because of Kamisato Tsukika's time travel, the relationship between the two is still as fierce as fire and water, and both sides disliked each other. Under such circumstances, the village finally decided that Kamisato Uehua would become the top student of this year. For Yamanaka Ino, a loyal fan of Kamisato Uehua, this was naturally a very worthy and happy thing. Kamisato Uehua could only smile helplessly. At the same time, she felt in her heart that the star-chasing culture was really terrible. By the way, tomorrow Shikamaru Chai and I will meet Hinata, Shino, and Naruto Sasuke and Sakura to have a dinner together to celebrate our graduation. Uehua-kun, will you come with us? Yamanaka Ino said, looking at Kamisato Uehua with an expectant and nervous look, looking pitiful, afraid that Kamisato Uehua would refuse. Kamisato Uehua had no choice but to agree. Although Kamisato Uehua felt that Ino's purpose was not only to have a dinner, but also to show off to Haruno Sakura. But it didn't matter. Even if Kamisato Uehua's future ambition was not to become a Hokage, nor to stay in Konoha forever. However, Kamisato Uehua would not refuse to establish friendships with these future 12 strong men and have dinner together. Great, then it's a deal. We'll meet at Ichiraka Ramen at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Fearing that Kamisato Uehua would regret it, Yamanaka Ino left happily after saying this. Chapter 12. The gathering of the cockroaches one day passed quickly, and it was noon the next day. Kamisato Tsukika set off on time. As for why he set off at noon for the 6 p.m. party, it was naturally because the plan was changed to a 2 p.m. gathering. Kamisato Tsukika went on time, so when he arrived, even the cold man Uchiha Sasuke had already arrived in advance. Seeing Kamisato Tsukika appear, Yamanaka Ino waved to him excitedly. Hello everyone, am I not late? Kamisato Tsukika came in front of everyone and spoke with a smile. Looking at these young boys and girls in front of him, Kamisato Tsukika couldn't help but sigh that youth is good and being young is good. And with the arrival of Kamisato Tsukika, the place became lively. You are definitely not late. It is definitely exactly 2 o'clock now. Nara Shikamaru lazily complained, having long been accustomed to Kamisato Tsukika's habit of never being late or early. But apart from complaining, Nara Shikamaru still admires Kamisato Tsukika. After all, being able to show up at the right time every time is also a skill. Want some? Tsukika. As soon as Shikamaru finished complaining, Chai had already extended the bag of potato chips in his hand to Kamisato Tsukika. Damn it. You made me wait for you again. It's too much. When Kamisato Tsukika reached out for the potato chips, Inuzuka Kiba pretended to be vicious and said, and Akamaru on his head also barked twice. And Hinata on the side greeted Kamisato Tsukika gently. Her voice was soft and sticky, coupled with her cute hairstyle and small face. Kamisato Tsukika couldn't help but want to tease her. But in the end, Kamisato Tsukika still held back. After all, Hinata's personality was too weak. Kamisato Tsukika had teased Hinata before, making her blush for a long time, and she didn't dare to look at him for several days afterwards. This, Uchiha Sasuke secretly snorted and looked at Kamisato Tsukika with a slightly hostile look. After all, Kamisato Tsukika took away his position as the chief student, which made Uchiha Sasuke, as a member of the Uchiha clan, feel humiliated. As for Haruno Sakura, she just greeted Kamisato Tsukika calmly, and her mind was all on Uchiha Sasuke. On the contrary, Uzumaki Naruto, who always greeted first in the past, rarely spoke this time. He waited for several people to finish speaking, and then he said a solemn thank you to Kamisato Tsukika in the puzzled eyes of others. This was very abnormal, which surprised everyone present, and even Uchiha Sasuke couldn't help but want to know what happened between the two. However, in the face of Inuzuka Kiba's questioning, Uzumaki Naruto became giggling again, making jokes. Now that everyone is here, let's go. We finally graduated. How about we go to eat barbecue on such an important day? Yamanaka Ino asked everyone. Barbecue? Great. Hearing Yamanaka Ino's proposal, Akimichi Chai agreed with shining eyes. For the Akimichi clan, meat, which is high in protein and energy, is simply their favorite. Ah, I thought we were going to eat ramen. Naruto shouted loudly. He had been thinking seriously about what flavor of ramen he would eat today for a long time when he heard that they would gather at Ichiraka Ramen. I don't care. Inuzuka Kiba shrugged. He had a good appetite like a kainu and could eat anything. Yeah. Uchiha Sasuke hummed coldly, maintaining his aloof personality. I can do anything. Hinata was still shy and spoke softly. When Haruno Sakura heard about eating barbecue, he was a little hesitant. After all, barbecue in the ninja world is very expensive, and ordinary people only have to spend a lavish meal during festivals. But thinking that he couldn't lose face in front of Ino, he gritted his teeth and agreed, and tried to act calmly. Barbecue. Want to be a bit expensive? Shikamaru is still considerate. Although he is a person who is very afraid of trouble, he always takes care of other people's emotions and considers others inadvertently. Otherwise, how could he, the eldest son of the Nara family, think that barbecue is expensive? It's for Naruto, Haruno Sakura, and Kamisato Uewa. After all, Naruto is a guy who can't even afford ramen most of the time. Haruno Sakura's family is not rich, and Kamisato Uewa also looks a little tight on money on weekdays. Of course, I know that barbecue is expensive, so the barbecue I'm talking about is that we go out to test it ourselves, we hunt and grill it ourselves. Look, I brought all the condiments, Yamanaka Ino said, waving the bag in her hand to everyone. It seems that she has prepared it in advance. As for the barbecue in the village, we have already graduated. After we get the reward for the task, we will celebrate together. Hunting by ourselves? That's a good suggestion. Inuzuka Kiba's eyes lit up when he heard Yamanaka Ino's plan. He still likes hunting. Ha, leave hunting to me. I'm very powerful now. Naruto also spoke loudly, since he learned the multiple shadow clone technique and passed the assessment of Hitaki Kakashi. He has been inflated. Yeah, Uchiha Sasuke is still maintaining his high-cold personality, but in his heart, he is thinking about how to suppress Kamisato Tsukika in hunting and prove who is the real chief student. Agreed. Haruno Sakura saw Uchiha Sasuke agreed, and quickly agreed, and at the same time, he breathed a sigh of relief. If they really had a barbecue in the village, the expenses would still be painful. Hinata, I'm fine. I'm fine too. Kamisato Tsukika also spoke up. It didn't matter to him where to go. But Shikamaru looked a little hesitant. He was afraid of accidents, and accidents would be accompanied by troubles. If troubles appeared, they had to be solved. This was really too troublesome. Oh, don't worry. We're not going to a dangerous place. We're just near where we had grilled fish last time. There won't be any danger. Ino saw through Shikamaru's worries. She couldn't help but hold her forehead and was speechless to Shikamaru. Okay, seeing that Yamanaka Ino said so, Shikamaru naturally had to agree. In fact, Kamisato Tsukika really wanted to tell Shikamaru that he didn't have to worry. If these 9 people were really allowed to have an accident around the village, there would be no need to keep the Umbu organization. After all, among them, there are the heirs of the 7 big families of Uchiha: Hyuga, Nara, Yamanaka, Akamichi, Inuzuka, and Aburame. There is also Uzumaki Naruto, the 9 Tails Jinchuriki, and Kamisato Tsukika, the genius head student. If they all get into trouble, Konoha will not be able to play in 15 years. Great, then let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Barbecue, barbecue. Looking at the happy boys and girls, Kamisato Tsukika's mouth curled up slightly. What a beautiful youth. By the way, it seems that I have forgotten something. Kamisato Tsukika thought in her heart, always feeling that she had overlooked something. Aburame Shino, who followed silently at the end of the crowd. Chapter 13. The youngest Umbu member. Good times are always short-lived, but they can always stay in people's hearts. Even after a long time, they will still remember this day. Remember the excitement of hunting together. Remember the delicious barbecue that was burnt or not cooked. Remember the sunset in the evening and the starry sky at night. Remember the joyful laughter and smiles on faces. Konoha, the wind is clear and the sun is bright. Early in the morning, Kamisato Uehua set out from home and went to the address that Sarutobi Hiruzen had told him before. That is where Kamisato Uehua was going to report Umbu. The full name of Umbu is the Assassination Tactics Special Forces, which was established by the second Hokage, Senju Tobarama, and directly commanded by the Hokage. The members of Umbu are all excellent ninjas selected from the village, mainly protecting the Hokage and preventing foreign invasions. Sometimes, they're also responsible for tasks such as scouting the enemy and assassination. Its members wear white masks imitating animals when they act, and the nature of the mission and all other information are kept confidential. In fact, compared to Umbu's main work, the sometimes work is more like Umbu's main business. Umbu does more things that are not allowed to see the light. After all, the name is the Assassination Tactics Special Force. Kamisato Uehua came to the edge of the village near the Death Forest according to the address. There were big trees covering the sky and blocking the sun, making even the clearest day look gloomy. Follow me. When Kamisato Uehua arrived at the door of the Umbu base, an Umbu had been waiting for a long time. Although the mask made it difficult to see her specific appearance, it was not difficult to see from Umbu's purple long hair and hot body that she was a female ninja. Kamisato Uehua had an impression of her on the night of the Mizuki incident. The 3 female Umbu who appeared in the forest were her. However, Kamisato Uehua did not take the initiative to mention or ask, but just followed the female Umbu member into the Umbu base silently. Compared to the outside, the Umbu base is different from the outside. Although Ming is built in the mountains, the lights inside are bright, clean, and tidy, and it doesn't make people feel gloomy at all. Under the leadership of the female Umbu, Kamisato Uehua came to a room with a sign of Team 6. Captain. After entering the room, the other 2 Umbu in the room spoke to the female Umbu and then looked at Kamisato Uehua with curiosity. It is not uncommon for new Umbu members to arrive. The mortality rate of Umbu is actually very high. The reason why there are only 3 of them in Team 6 now is because they lost a teammate in a mission not long ago. The reason why the 2 are so curious about Kamisato Uehua is that Kamisato Uehua is too young, only 12 years old, and just graduated from the ninja school. The last Umbu so young can be traced back to Uchiha Itachi a few years ago, but Uchiha Itachi did not join Umbu right after graduation. When the 2 looked at Kamisato Uehua was also observing the 2. There is no doubt that they are the other 2 Umbu members who appeared with the female Umbu last time. However, unlike the last time, the 2 did not wear masks in the Umbu base, revealing their true faces. The 2 looked very easy to distinguish. One looked very young, about 24-25 years old, a very ordinary young man. The other was older, probably in his 30s, with a tough face and a strong body, and should be a powerful ninja. Welcome to join the UMBU 1st Division 6 team. These are your equipment and uniforms. The innermost cabinet belongs to you. The female UMBU called the captain spoke to Kamisato Tsukika, pointing to a box and a samurai sword on the box. By the way, give yourself a code name. When UMBU is on a mission outside, you can't call the other party's real name directly. Code name, let's call it Woot. Kamisato Tsukika said casually, it's just a code name, just pick one. Are all geniuses so casual? Well, Woo, welcome to UMBU. My code name is Inu. My real name is Yamai Hisaji, a perception ninja. The young UMBU in his 20s smiled and spoke, looking like a cheerful and easygoing person. Code name is Yama. Real name is Ishina Ida. Good at physical skills and earth-style ninjutsu. The adult UMBU in his 30s spoke, speaking concisely and with a deep voice, giving people a sense of solidity and reliability. When the two introduced themselves, the female UMBU also took off her mask, revealing a cold and beautiful face. She said, "Code name is Hannah. Real name is Yuzuki Yugao, captain of the 1st team, the 6th team, good at swordsmanship and medical ninjutsu." Listening to Yuzuki Yugao's words, Kamisato Tsukika secretly said in her heart that it was as expected. Kamisato Tsukika had just guessed about Yuzuki Yugao's identity. Although the entire UMBU is a system of 80 people, at this time, the 6th team, the purple-haired female UMBU, is only Yuzuki Yugao. My name is Kamisato Tsukika. I am good at physical skills, but because I just graduated from the ninja school, my strength may be a little weak. Please take care of me in the future. 3 seniors. Kamisato Tsukika also introduced himself. In fact, he is not only good at physical skills, but also at Grandmaster Ninjutsu and Illusion. He also has the Spiritualization Technique and the Space-Time Ninjutsu Flying Thunder God Technique. But these are not to be said. Woo, you are too modest. You are not a student who graduated from an ordinary ninja school, but the chief student. Besides, your strength is not bad. You were able to defeat Mizuki in an instant that night, which was difficult for me to do. Yamai Hisashi thought of that night again in his mind. Kamisato Tsukika's move at that time scared him. After all, who would have thought that a student who just graduated from the ninja school could kill a Chunin in seconds? Not everyone is called Hatake Kakashi, and not everyone is called Uchiha Itachi. However, starting from Kamisato Tsukika, there may be another saying in the future. Not everyone is called Kamisato Tsukika. Hehe. It was Mizuki who was careless at that time. Kamiri Tsukika scratched her head, harmless. Because we will carry out the mission together later, cooperation between each other is very important. So, let's go to the training ground and experience the ability of teammates firsthand. Yuzuki Yugao spoke up. She was also very curious about Kamisato Tsukika and wanted to see how strong Kamisato Tsukika was. After all, although Kamisato Tsukika killed Mizuki in seconds that day, it was indeed, as Kamisato Tsukika said, Mizuki was too careless at that time. Chapter 14. Yuzuki Yugao's Test Death Forest, an empty place that Yuzuki Yugao calls a training ground. Since you're good at taijutsu, let's have a real combat exercise with Sean. It happens that he is also good at taijutsu. Yuzuki Yugao looked at Kamisato Tsukika and spoke. In fact, if she could choose, she didn't want Kamisato Tsukika to join Team 6. Team 6 is currently configured with a swordsmanship/medical ninja, plus a perception ninja, and a taijutsu/earth-style ninja. If they take the comprehensive route, what they need most now should be a jinjutsu ninja. Kamisato Tsukika, a taijutsu ninja, joining them will not improve Team 6 very much. It can't even be said to be an improvement, but it may become a drag. After all, in terms of taijutsu, Team 6 only needs Sean. Kamisato Tsukika's arrival cannot be a replacement for Sean, but a lower position. Thinking of this, Yuzuki Yugao sighed inwardly. But this is the arrangement of 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, and she has no power to object. Now, Yuzuki Yugao only hopes that Kamisato Tsukika can be a little stronger, as long as she doesn't drag them down during the mission. Okay, Captain. Kamisato Tsukika nodded. He didn't know what Yuzuki Yugao was thinking, but he saw some disappointment in some of the three people's micro-expressions. Kamisato Tsukika didn't care about this. After all, he was too young and had just graduated from a ninja school. At this age, it is normal to be looked down upon. Not everyone is Hatake Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi. Hatake Kakashi graduated from the ninja school at the age of 5, became a Chunin at the age of 6, and became a Chunin at the age of 12. This is the only experience in the entire Konoha. And Uchiha Itachi also graduated from a ninja school at the age of 7 and became a Chunin at the age of 10. Although Kamisato Tsukika has already had a record of killing Mizuki in seconds, in the minds of the three people, it was because Mizuki was too careless. They did not think that Kamisato Tsukika, the top student who graduated from the ninja school at the age of 12, was also a genius like Hatake Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi. I will take it seriously. Ishikawa looked at Kamisato Tsukika and spoke, showing his attitude of not letting her off. "Woo, come on." Yamai Hisashi encouraged Kamisato Tsukika. "Then let's get started." With the order from Yuzuki Yugao, Kamisato Tsukika and Yamai Hisashi move at the same time. Not bad speed. As Kamisato Tsukika started, Yuzuki Yugao nodded slightly in her heart. Although such speed is not very amazing for adults, Kamisato Tsukika's speed at this age can indeed be called a first-class genius. However, it is not enough. Yuzuki Yugao continued to watch. At this time, Kamisato Tsukika and Ishikawa had already clashed, and both of them attacked very quickly, like raindrops falling quickly, and the collision of hands and feet made a bang. Although Sean has the upper hand, it is difficult for Sean to defeat Wu in a short time. Wu is indeed a genius. Yamai Hisashi sighed beside Yuzuki Yugao. Well, it's not bad. But, thinking of Kamisato Tsukika's attack on Mizuki that night, Yuzuki Yugao frowned slightly. Kamisato Tsukika that day should be faster than Kamisato Tsukika now. Not only Yuzuki Yugao noticed this, but Ishinoda also discovered it. So after another collision, Ishinoda stopped and said to Kamisato Tsukika with a serious face, "Although it's just a real combat exercise, please take it seriously." Hearing this, Kamisato Tsukika nodded. He was not unserious. He just wanted to try his strength in the third gate state without actively opening the 8 inner gates. After all, the last time he practiced with the third Hokage, he was always in the 4th gate state. Now it seems that in the normal state, he should be between Elite Chunin and Junin. Then, the next is the 4th gate. The thought flashed through Kamisato Tsukika's mind, and he mobilized the chakra in his body to forcibly reopen the 4th gate gate in his body. A green glow emanated from Kamisato Tsukika's body, and Kamisato Tsukika attacked Ishizong Ida again. "What a fast speed!" Yamai Hisashi exclaimed. His eyes widened, looking at the two people who had already clashed again. This time he was shocked. Not only the speed, it seems that his strength is not weak, and his fighting consciousness is so strong. Mao Yuxian was also shocked by Kamisato Tsukika's outburst, and was very surprised to see Kamisato Tsukika suppressing Ishizong Ida. However, the one who was most surprised at this time was Ishizong Ida, who was directly fighting with Kamisato Tsukika. As soon as the two sides came into contact, he felt the power contained in Kamisato Tsukika's fists and feet, and that power was not weaker than his own. This is incredible. Fighting skills, fighting consciousness and experience can be unrestricted by age, but the attributes of the body cannot be separated from the limitations of the body. There's a big difference between the body of an adult and the body of a teenager. Even if they are of the same height and weight, the body of an adult is definitely stronger and stronger than that of a teenager. Compared with the body of an adult, the only advantage of the body of a teenager may be the reaction speed. However, at this time, he was in his 30s and in the prime of his life. His body was still at its peak, but he was suppressed by Kamisato Tsukika in terms of strength and speed. This really made him feel turbulent and difficult to calm down. "Captain, is it suppressed?" Yamai Hisashi turned his head to look at Yuzuki Yugao in disbelief, and what he saw was a pretty face with lips slightly opened in shock. Seeing Yamai Hisashi looking at him, Yuzuki Yugao quickly regained her composure and nodded. It seems that Wu's physical skills are at the level of Junin. No wonder he can easily kill Mizuki. Yuzuki Yugao spoke, and at this time she had completely recognized Kamisato Tsukika's strength. Is this a genius? It's really scary. Captain, do you think we will be the next Captain Kakashi? Or the next Uchiha? At this point, Yamai Hisashi paused. What he wanted to talk about was naturally Uchiha Itachi, who was also the pride of Umbu and the genius who created the myth of becoming an Umbu squad leader at the age of 13. But Uchiha Itachi has defected from Konoha and has become the target of their Umbu mission. Hey, Captain, it seems that Wu's arrival is a good thing for us. Yamai Hisashi quickly changed the subject. Yuzuki Yugao nodded. Judging from the combat power shown by Kamisato Tsukika, Kamisato Tsukika's joining is definitely an improvement for Team 6. Bang, bang, bang. Kamisato Tsukika and Ishida are still fighting in the training ground, but the situation is already very clear at this time. Kamisato Tsukika is going to win. Chapter 15, very interested. Interest I lost. After another collision, Ishii Inaka used the force to distance himself from Kamisato Uehua and then decisively admitted defeat. His expression was complicated, and his eyes on Kamisato Uehua changed at this time, as if he was looking at a monster. Yes, Kamisato Uehua has now become a monster in Ishii Inaka's heart, because in the previous duel, Ishii Inaka clearly felt the growth of Kamisato Uehua. Originally, after Kamisato Uehua broke out, although Kamisato Uehua had a slight advantage, Ishii Inaka did not think he would lose. He even thought that he could defeat Kamisato Uehua with his rich experience and skills. But soon, Ishii Inaka found that his idea was wrong. Kamiri Uehua did seem to be inexperienced compared to him, but Kamisato Uehua's learning speed and adaptability were too terrifying. She grew rapidly in the duel with him by fighting and raising her. In this way, Kamisato Uehua became more and more comfortable, and he became more and more uncomfortable. Until just now, in the last collision, Ishii Inaka noticed that Kamisato Uehua subconsciously stopped, and he knew in his heart that he was no longer Kamisato Uehua's opponent. This made Ishii Inaka feel very unreal. Even though he was a calm person, he felt a huge sense of frustration in his heart. Although he had heard too many stories about geniuses, after all, he had no direct contact with those geniuses, and he did not feel the gap between geniuses and ordinary people intuitively. And now, Kamisato Uehua made Ishii Inaka feel the disparity of human beings and the gap between ordinary people and geniuses. He used the experience and skills accumulated over more than 10 years, and in just over 10 minutes, they were absorbed and digested by Kamisato Uehua and became Kamisato Uehua's things. This is really too depressing. Thank you, Senior. Actually, I didn't win. If it was a life-and-death battle, I'm afraid I would have been killed by you at the beginning. And Senior Sean didn't use the Earth-style ninjutsu that you're good at. This is an unfair duel in itself. Kamiri Tsukika saw the blow in Ishii's heart and comforted him. This was obviously very effective. Ishii's face looked much better after hearing it. However, what he didn't know was that if it was really a life-and-death battle, the person who died from the beginning would not be Kamisato Tsukika, but Ishii. After all, although Ishii didn't use Earth-style ninjutsu, Kamisato Tsukika also didn't use the Spiritualization Technique and Flying Thunder God Technique. It was a wonderful duel. It's a blessing for the village to have a genius like you. Yuzuki smiled slightly and was in a good mood. I am lucky to be born in Konoha. If it weren't for everyone protecting Konoha so well, I wouldn't be able to grow up no matter how talented I am. Kamiri Tsukika scratched his head and then said seriously, besides, it doesn't matter to me whether he is a genius or not. Even if he is just an ordinary person, I will feel honored to be a Konoha shinobi. Hearing the conversation between Kamisato Tsukika and Yuzuki Yugao, Ishida was shocked and then relieved. Yes, there are so many geniuses in this world. Even if there is no Kamisato Tsukika, there is still a gap between ordinary people like him and other geniuses. And a genius like Kamisato Tsukika is a ninja of Konoha, which should be a happy thing. After all, his family, his relatives and friends are all in Konoha. The stronger Kamisato Tsukika is, the safer the people he cares about will be. Similarly, even if he is an ordinary person, he will do his best to protect the village so that everyone in the village can live safely. As expected of Wu, I recognize your belief. Yamai Hisaji became a little excited. He seemed to be a person who was easily moved by emotions, or he was a little stupid and easily excited. It was for this reason that Yamai Hisaji made a noise on the night of the Shuemu incident and was discovered by Kamisato Tsukika. You should have known about Shan's strength. Inu is a perception ninja. You don't need to care too much about his combat power. Then, let me and you have a real combat exercise. Knowing the strength of your teammates, the cooperation in the future will be smoother. Yuzuki Yugao spoke to Kamisato Tsukika, and she had a good impression of Kamisato Tsukika in her heart. Strong strength, genius, and firm will of fire. Such a person will definitely become a powerful ninja in the village in the future. Kamisato Uehua naturally followed the suggestion of Yuzuki Yugao. Speaking of which, he was also quite interested in Yuzuki Yugao. Konoha-style swordsmanship, the 3-day moon dance, left a deep impression on Kamisato Uehua. Of course, this impression was always accompanied by the words of the Ninja World Dance King. Do you want to dance too? Soon, Kamisato Uehua and Yuzuki Yugao fought. To be honest, Kamisato Uehua was not good at swordsmanship because he had traveled here for too short a time and almost all of his time was spent on training, leaving little time for deducing swordsmanship. Of course, this was also due to the fact that Kamisato Uehua had never been exposed to swordsmanship. However, although Kamisato Uehua said that he was not good at swordsmanship, this was not good compared to his physical skills. If it was just the ability to use a sword, Kamisato Uehua was not bad, and could even be said to be very strong. Yuzuki Yugao had a deep understanding of this. When she first saw Kamisato Uehua fighting with her, using the Umbu standard sword, she was thinking about giving her some face when they fought, so that she wouldn't lose so badly. However, after she really fought with Kamisato Uehua, Yuzuki Yugao was thinking about not losing. After all, even though she didn't have swordsmanship, Kamisato Uehua was too fast, too powerful, and had an outrageous combat awareness. The basic kendo moves taught in the ninja school suddenly became deadly in Kamisato Uehua's hands. There were no routines or skills, but every sword was a killing move, and they all attacked directly at the vital points. If both sides were evenly matched in such an attack, it would be easy for the person with high swordsmanship to set a routine. But when the speed and strength of both sides were not equal, those routines were useless. One force can break all methods, which is what Kamisato Uehua is doing now. Ding, 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 ding. In the training ground, the swords in the hands of Kamisato Tsukika and Yuzuki Yugao were already slashing with sparks, and only after images could be seen. On the sidelines, Yamai Hisaji and Ishida looked at each other, and they saw shock and disbelief in each other's eyes. Didn't you say that you are good at physical skills? What's the matter with this swordsmanship? Chapter 16 Ding. Skill books and experience books have arrived. The swordsmanship duel between Kamisato Tsukika and Yuzuki Yugao ended in a short time, without a winner or loser. This was not a duel that had to be decided, but was to better understand each other's strength and facilitate future cooperation. However, even if this duel did not decide the winner, it still brought a great shock to Yuzuki Yugao, hitting her deep in her heart. When the duel ended, she was a little dazed. Yuzuki Yugao herself is actually a little genius, a leader among her peers. Otherwise, she would not have become the captain of the 6th team of the 1st team of Umbu at such a young age. To this day, she has some doubts about her life. If she is a genius, what is Kamisato Tsukika? It was a blow, a deep blow. Fortunately, Yuzuki Yugao is an excellent ninja after all, and she quickly adjusted her mentality and regained her composure. Of course, Yamai Hisaji understood that whether it was Yuzuki Yugao or Ishino Ida, it would definitely be impossible for them to regain their composure so quickly. This kind of blow made Yamai Hisaji tremble with fear and feel lucky. Fortunately, he was just a perception ninja, so he didn't need to go to actual combat exercises with Kamisato Uehua, so he could be spared from the blow. However, When he saw Kamisato Tsukika showing interest in perception ninjutsu, Yamai Hisaji's heart trembled. The actual combat exercise was over, and the 6th team returned to Umbu to wait for time and be on standby at any time. Because it is a peaceful time now, we don't have so many tasks on weekdays except for the normal guard rotation. But even if there is no task, we need to be on standby at the base at any time. If you feel bored, you can read a book or do some simple physical training. After returning to the Umbu base, Yuzuki Yugao began to introduce some of the daily tasks of Umbu members and some rules in Umbu to Kamisato Tsukika. These rules are not many or few, but in general, try to be low-key when on a mission, low-key on weekdays, and can't reveal your daily identity during the mission, and can't reveal your Umbu identity in daily life. Kamisato Tsukika listened carefully to Yuzuki Yugao's explanation and then went into a daze. Of course, in the eyes of the 3 people, Yuzuki Yugao, Kamisato Tsukika was in a daze, but in fact, Kamisato Tsukika was conducting a shallow deduction. As for reading, knowledge reserves are indeed very important to Kamisato Tsukika, but Kamisato Tsukika had already read all the useful books that he could access in Konoha. Sean, do geniuses like to be in a daze? Yamai Hisaji glanced at Kamisato Tsukika, who had been in a daze for several hours, and whispered to Ishikawa Ida. Maybe it's a genius's habit. Ishikawa Ida opened his mouth. How could he know what geniuses like to do on weekdays? He is not a genius. Okay. Time passed quickly during Kamisato Tsukika's shallow deduction, and it was not long before it was evening. Let's go. It's our turn to perform the mission. Yuzuki Yugao looked at the time and stood up and spoke, and her voice pulled Kamisato Tsukika back from the state of shallow deduction. Wearing a mask, Kamisato Tsukika followed Yuzuki Yugao and the other 2 to the Hokage office. Their daily rotation mission is a very important mission, involving the best person in power in the village, the Hokage. To be precise, their mission is to protect the Hokage. Kamisato Tsukika is actually quite speechless about this mission. Who can become a Kage without Kage level strength? The combat power they possess is even the best in the village. Such a person, do they still need Umbu to protect? Unless it is a war, when the enemy village has a strong assassin ninja, Umbu is needed to consume or delay the assassin. Otherwise, it is better for the shadow to protect Umbu. Not to mention that this is the largest ninja village in the ninja world, Konoha. If the Hokage needs protection from others, then the whole village is almost finished and no one can stop such an enemy. Just like the powerful enemies like Uchiha Obito and Tendo Pain, Umbu is useless in front of them and is killed directly. The reason why Umbu has the responsibility of protecting Hokage is just to sound less evil. The Umbu who performs the task of protecting Hokage is more of a runner and can be used when Hokage needs to find someone or take something. Of course, Kamisato Tsukika only complained at his heart. He still likes to perform the task of protecting Hokage. Safe, leisurely, and stress-free. Moreover, if Kamisato Tsukika was not wrong, he would definitely gain a lot during his mission to protect the Hokage. After all, after he showed some talent that day, Sarutobi Hiruzen did not let him enter the ninja class normally, but brought him to Umbu, which must have been for a purpose. Kamisato Tsukika could guess Sarutobi Hiruzen's purpose, that the other party wanted to train him. After arriving at the Hokage's office, the 4 of them went directly to the assigned positions and began to secretly observe the surroundings to protect the safety of the Hokage. This was undoubtedly a boring job, although it was indeed leisurely. Time passed quickly, and it was 8 o'clock in the evening in a blink of an eye. At this time, the sun had completely set over the mountain, and lights were on everywhere, and Konoha became brightly lit. After Sarutobi Hiruzen finished processing another file, he did not open the next file, but came to the window of the office. He looked down somewhere below, where a young man was hiding in the dimness, looking around vigilantly. Seeing this scene, Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled. Then, he walked out of the Hokage's office and headed for the No. 1 training ground. The 4 members of the 6th team naturally followed the Hokage in the dark. As long as they were on duty, they would follow the Hokage wherever he went. And this kind of following should be as concealed as possible to avoid being discovered by others. Not long after, the number 1 training ground arrived. No, Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke and called out Kamisato Uehua's codename. This codename was reported to the squad leader by Yuzuki Yugao at noon today, and the squad leader reported it to the captain, and the captain reported it to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Hokage-sama. Kamisato Uehua jumped down from a big tree around the training ground and came to Sarutobi Hiruzen's side. Yes, the position you chose just now is very good, and you can clearly see the surrounding movements. Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke, very satisfied with Kamisato Uehua. You haven't learned the body flicker technique yet. I'll teach you the body flicker technique tonight. Kamiri, Tsukika guessed right. If this is a game, then the reward for his mission to join Anbu is the various skill books and experience books from the 3rd Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen. Chapter 17. Rapid Growth. Several people suffered a hurt in the next month. Kamisato Uehua lived a fulfilling and happy life. After all, she could get skill books and experience books every day, which was a very comfortable life. It was also during this month that Kamisato Uehua's overall strength was greatly improved, not to mention the techniques she mastered in a month. Even if Sarutobi Hiruzen taught Kamisato Uehua 1 technique a day, or even 1 technique every 2 days, Kamisato Uehua would have gained a lot of very good techniques. In this month, Kamisato Uehua's biggest gain was practical experience and skills. You have to know who taught him. That was the 3rd Hokage of Konoha, a Kaga-level strongman who was born and grew up in troubled times and had experienced countless battles. His practical skills and experience have been ranked among the best in the entire ninja world for decades. With Sarutobi Hiruzen's teaching and guidance, Kamisato Uehua's practical skills and experience are naturally improving rapidly every day. Now, Kamisato Uehua, although not completely copying Sarutobi Hiruzen's skills and experience, has already mastered 80% to 90%. Moreover, Kamisato Uehua has begun to integrate these skills and experience, and combined with her own situation to turn these skills and experience into the most suitable things for herself. It can be said that in a month, Kamisato Uehua, even if she does not use the trump cards such as Flying Thunder God Technique and Spiritualization Technique, 8 Inner Gates and 7th Gate, has reached the level of Elite Genin by using the methods learned from Sarutobi Hiruzen. And it is the kind of Elite Genin who can succeed to the throne at any time. If all the trump cards are used, Kamisato Uehua believes that he dares to touch even the level of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Now, the only thing that restricts Kamisato Uehua seems to be only one thing: the amount of chakra. Once Kamisato Uehua solves the problem of chakra amount, Kamisato Uehua can come and go freely in the ninja world. Of course, even if Kamisato Uehua solved the chakra problem, she still had nothing to worry about. After all, this is the ninja world, and no one knows whether there are any strange but powerful ninjutsu in the ninja world. For example, the Impure World Reincarnation, which forcibly drags people to death, or the Hidden Death Division, which kills people with just 1 drop of blood, can all take Kamisato Uehua's life. Not to mention that there is a Tsutsuki Ishiki hidden in this ninja world. That guy is the most terrifying. Before setting foot in the 6 paths, if you provoke Tsutsuki Ishiki, you will probably die. Of course, Kamisato Uehua is not yet at the point where Tsutsuki Ishiki pays special attention. Before she has the ability to protect herself, Kamisato Uehua will not take the initiative to provoke Tsutsuki Ishiki. There is still a long way to go. My body, soul, and abilities are all just getting started. Kamiri, Tsukika commented on herself in this way. She did not feel complacent at all, but only felt pressure and motivation. In his own eyes, he was just an ordinary person whose comprehension was a little higher than that of ordinary people. However, in the eyes of others, especially Sarutobi Hiruzen and Kamisato Tsukika's 3 teammates in Team 6, Kamisato Tsukika was almost not a human. This was simply a sin. In 1 month, she grew from a special Genin in Taijutsu to an elite Genin and even a Kage. Such a growth rate completely shocked Sarutobi Hiruzen. He was shocked by Kamisato Tsukika again and again, and finally became numb. His current evaluation of Kamisato Tsukika is, this is a super genius who has one more Kakashi than Orochimaru, and his genius is still improving. Sarutobi Hiruzen commented on Kamisato Tsukika in his heart. As for Yuzuki Yugao, Yamai Hisaji, and Ishina Ida, they were both lucky and unlucky. They were lucky because they witnessed the rapid rise of Kamisato Yuehua with their own eyes. They were unlucky because they witnessed the rapid rise of Kamisato Yuehua. The three people were so shocked that they almost collapsed mentally and their worldviews were completely destroyed. In the end, hypnosis could only accept the fact that people are really different from each other. There was no way. Kamisato Yuehua was too talented, and her talent was like a demon. They found that Kamisato Yuehua could learn things that they needed a week to learn, a month to master, and half a year to become a grandmaster with just one look, 2 practices, and a few uses. Kamisato Yuehua's 1-month practice was something they could not achieve in their lifetime. This kind of thing really hit people's self-confidence. The 3 people were directly numbed by the blow. Even the way they looked at Kamisato Yuehua began to become wrong, with awe and inferiority, as if they were not looking at the same person. This made Kamisato Yuehua speechless. But there is no way. After all, even Sarutobi Hiruzen, a Hokage who has experienced countless storms, has been numb after this month. The 3 of them only developed psychological trauma and did not completely shut themselves off, which is already very good. Another night, an old man and a young man fought in the training ground. The old man wore a Hokage's divine robe. Although he was over 70 years old, he was still strong and strong. He held a monkey stick and waved it with the wind whistling and sand and rocks flying. The young man wore an umbu uniform and held a standard longsword. The longsword kept slashing in his hand. Every strike was as elegant as the wind, like an antelope hanging horns, ethereal and agile, and no trace could be found. Ding, ding, ding. The 2 kept fighting, and the collision of weapons made a crisp sound of ding, ding. Outside the training ground, the 3 umbu members had numb expressions under their masks, and their eyes were full of entanglement. They wanted to watch the exciting competition, but they were afraid to watch the exciting competition. So they glanced at him intentionally or unintentionally, and then quickly retracted their gazes, which was very awkward. Finally, the sound of the weapons colliding stopped. Sarutobi, you are old. The old voice sounded. It was the stick Monkey King in Sarutobi Hiruzen's hand. It rarely spoke on its own initiative, but it couldn't help but sigh at this time. Yuka, this kid has grown too fast. You could suppress him last time, but you can't do it this time. Monkey King spoke again, looking at the boy opposite, and couldn't help being shocked and sighing again. No, it's the 3rd generation master who let me go. Kamisato Yuehua scratched his head and spoke. Although Monkey King said the truth, he still had to be humble. Chapter 18, I became a Hokage candidate for no apparent reason, huh? I'm old and useless. Sarutobi Hiruzen laughed at himself, but he didn't feel lonely or uncomfortable in his heart, only happy and expectant. Birth, aging, illness, and death are common sense in life, and no one can escape the fate of aging. Towering trees will also grow old, and the sea will dry up and the rocks will crumble, let alone people. But Sarutobi Hiruzen is already satisfied to be able to cultivate a new towering tree for Konoha village when he feels powerless. Ninjutsu, illusion, physical skills, and even combat skills and combat experience. I have taught you everything I can, and you have learned them all. Next is the real combat, the kind of combat where it's either you or me. Starting tomorrow, I will arrange for Team 6 to complete some tasks outside the village. These tasks are dangerous and will be accompanied by combat. Sarutobi Hiruzen put away his smile, and his expression became serious. Kamisato Tsukika has grown too fast, beyond his expectations. There is no much point in keeping Kamisato Tsukika by his side. Therefore, the next training of Kamisato Yuehua is to let Kamisato Yuehua experience light and darkness firsthand, and face blood and death. The next training of Kamisato Yuehua is to establish Kamisato Yuehua's sense of responsibility and to strengthen and firm Kamisato Yuiwa's will of fire. If Kamisato Yuiwa's growth is still fine, then after the Chunin exam, Sarutobi Hiruzen plans to start training Kamisato Yuiwa's political ability and ability to do things. If when Sarutobi Hiruzen knew that Kamisato Yuiwa was a full attribute chakra owner, what he wanted in his heart was to train a strong fighting force for the village. Then after this month of contact, Kamisato Yuiwa has become the future mainstay of Konoha in Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart, a candidate for Hokage. However, it is not the candidate for the 5th Hokage, but the candidate for the 6th Hokage. The candidates for the 5th Hokage, in Sarutobi Hiruzen's mind, are Hitaki Kakashi, Sarutobi Asuma, Jiraiya, and Tsunade. As for Shimura Dans, as long as Sarutobi Hiruzen is there, Shimura Dans will never become the Hokage of Konoha. It's not a personal grudge, but Shimura Dan's methods and ideas are not suitable for becoming Hokage. If he becomes Hokage, the village will inevitably go to a certain extreme. I understand. Kamisato Yuiwa also looked serious. He knew that his leisure days were over. Then let's do it today. It's late. Go back and rest early and get your spirits ready for a new start tomorrow. Yes. One night passed. Early the next morning, Kamisato Yuiwa came to the Umbu base as usual and entered the room of the 6th team. Captain, good morning, Ida elder brother, Kushi elder brother. As soon as he entered the room, Kamisato Yuiwa saw Yuzuki Yugao and the other two who were talking and laughing. Today they looked different than they had in the past and seemed to be a little excited. Everyone looks very happy. Did something good happen? Kamiri Tsukika asked curiously. He didn't seem to hear or see any happy events in the village along the way. Nothing, just pure happiness in a good mood. Yuzuki Yugao looked at Kamiri Tsukika and smiled. Ha ha, it's because we can finally go out on a mission. In the past month, besides being beaten by you, I've been reading books here. My bones are about to fall apart. Yamai Hisaji started to complain, and the calm Ishida couldn't help but nod his head in agreement. This made Kamisato Yuiwa smile awkwardly. Indeed, in the past month, because of Kamisato Yuiwa, the entire 6th team had no other missions except protecting the Hokage. Sitting here every day is really boring, but this is not the most important thing. Although the task of protecting the Hokage is boring, it is safe and leisurely, and the reward is not low. This kind of task is a good job for Umbu members. However, it is very painful to doubt life every day because of Kamisato Yuiwa. In the past month, Yuzuki Yugao and the other two have been beaten many times to doubt life and themselves. Especially seeing that the technique they're practicing was completely mastered and surpassed by Kamisato Yuiwa in one day, that feeling is simply torture, and the heart is too painful. And now, finally, the days of being forced to wear a painful mask every day are over. Even though they will have to live a life of licking blood on the edge of knife again, the three of Mao Yushi Yin can't help but look forward to it, and the joy in their hearts arises spontaneously. Well, I'm also looking forward to the next mission, but after all, I have never done a mission outside the village, and the 3rd generation leader also said that it will be accompanied by danger. So, I have to ask the 3 seniors to take care of me in the future. Kamisato Yuiwa spoke seriously, but what she said made Mao Yushi Yin roll her eyes. If others heard Kamisato Yuiwa say such words, they would definitely take it seriously. After all, Kamisato Yuiwa is too young. But after witnessing Kamisato Yuiwa's heaven-defying growth with their own eyes, Mao Yushi Yin and the other 3 couldn't help but complain about Kamisato Yuiwa's words. With your strength, do you still need us to take care of you? It's better for you to take care of us in the future. Yamai Hisahi said speechlessly, and his face became happy again. But with Yuiwa here, we will definitely feel relaxed and comfortable when carrying out missions in the future. Ha ha ha. After this, Yuzuki Yugao and Ishida couldn't help but smile. It is indeed a very happy thing to have a strong teammate in the team. After all, as an Umbu, the missions they carry out are indeed very dangerous, and they will die if they are not careful. And who wants to die if they can live? With Kamisato Yuiwa here, the casualty rate of their Team 6 will definitely drop significantly. This made Yuzuki Yugao sigh in her heart, and her beautiful eyes couldn't help looking at Kamisato Uehua with soft light flowing in her eyes. Speaking of which, she was worried that Kamisato Uehua's entry into the 6th team would drag down the 6th team at first, but she didn't expect that in the end it would become that they might drag down Kamisato Uehua. Knock, knock, knock. A sudden knock on the door made the 4 people in the 6th team quiet down in an instant. The 6th team, Hokage-sama summoned. The Umbu outside the door did not come in and left after saying this. Okay, enough chatting. Let's go, it's time to work. Yuzuki Yugao spoke, putting on a mask. The next moment, the 4 of them headed towards the Hokage's office. Chapter 19. Rushed to the Nation of Waves in the Hokage's office. Sarutobi Hiruzen informed Kamisato Tsukika and the other 4 of the mission of Team 6. In fact, when a normal Umbu team performs a mission, the Hokage will not tell them the mission content in person, but the captain or the team leader will arrange it. But Team 6, where Kamisato Tsukika is different, and this is Kamisato Tsukika's first time to go out of the village to perform a mission, so Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but give him a few instructions in person. Then go on the mission. With Sarutobi Hiruzen's order, Kamisato Tsukika and the other 4 used the body flicker technique to leave and headed directly out of the village. They don't need to prepare anything, unless it is something needed for a special mission. For other normal missions, the Umbu members are ready at any time in Umbu. I didn't expect that Senior Kakashi and his team would encounter the rebel demon Momochi Zabuza from Kirigakure, but with Senior Kakashi's strength, he shouldn't need support, right? On the way out of the village to the Land of Waves, Yamai Hisaji couldn't help but speak in confusion. The mission that Kamisato Tsukika and the others were to carry out was the mission in the original work where Team 7 first encountered a life-and-death crisis, the Wave Country mission. In this mission, the 2 sides fought twice. The first time, Hatake Kakashi was trapped by the demon Momochi Zabuza with the water prison technique. Uchiha Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto, and Haruno Sakura faced the demon Momochi Zabuza's clone, and the situation was critical. Although relying on the cooperation of Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke to solve the demon Momochi Zabuza's clone and help Hatake Kakashi escape and defeat the demon Momochi Zabuza, the demon Momochi Zabuza was still rescued by the descendant of the Mizunatsuki clan, Shiro Mizunatsuki. After that, the 2 sides fought again. If it weren't for Shiro Mizunatsuki's mercy, Uchiha Sasuke would probably not be able to escape death, and most likely he would die in the Wave Country. As for Uzumaki Naruto, Nine Tails will not let him die. If it's just Kakashi-senpai, there will be no problem, but don't forget that Kakashi-senpai is bringing 3 genins with him. And the opponent is Zabuza Momochi, the demon after all. The strength of the 7 ninja swordsmen should not be underestimated. It's not easy for Kakashi-senpai to fight Zabuza Momochi while protecting 3 genins. Yuzuki Yugao responded, "That's true, but I still believe in Kakashi-senpai. He was the former captain of our Umbu." Yamai Hisaji's tone was confident, and it was not difficult to hear the admiration in it. He obviously trusted Hatake Kakashi's strength. But this time he believed wrongly. If it weren't for Mizunatsuki Shireo's mercy, Hatake Kakashi would probably get into big trouble on this mission. After all, if Uchiha Sasuke died in the Wave Country mission, the relationship between Konoha and Uchiha Itachi would inevitably change. Even if Uchiha Itachi was still loyal to Konoha and had no second thoughts, the Konoha high-level officials would not think so. In their minds, the fundamental reason why Uchiha Itachi is still Konoha's undercover is that Uchiha Sasuke is still in Konoha's hands. Once Uchiha Sasuke dies, Uchiha Itachi will be completely out of control, and Konoha cannot accept the fact that Uchiha Itachi, who knows many secrets of Konoha, is out of control. At that time, who knows what Shimura Dans will do? Of course, it is also possible that nothing will happen, but who knows? Anyway, let's go there first. After saying that, the 4 continue to set off for the Land of Waves. At the same time, in the Land of Waves at Dazna's home, Hatake Kakashi woke up from a coma. He quickly and quietly looked at the environment he was in, and his inner vigilance slowly dropped. It seems that he is safe, and that guy did not notice his condition. Thinking in his heart, Hatake Kakashi still couldn't help but feel a little scared. Although he won the last duel with the demon Momochi Zabuza, it can only be said to be a miserable victory. Chakra was almost completely eliminated, causing him to fall asleep directly. If the guy pretending to be Kirigakure Umbu attacked Naruto Sasuke and others during his sleep, thinking of this, Hatake Kakashi was very happy. He had already realized that Mizuno Haku was not a member of Kirigakure Umbu, but an accomplice of the demon Momochi Zabuza. This is why Hatake Kakashi watched Mizuno Haku take Momochi Zabuza away and held on until he fell asleep. If he didn't hold on at that time and was seen through by the fake Kirigakure Umbu, then they would be in danger. It seems that he has been a little lax since leaving Umbu. Thinking in his heart, Hatake Kakashi frowned slightly. This thrilling experience made him very scared. Others don't know the situation of his team. Doesn't he know it himself? Uchiha Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto, any one of them will have a great impact on Konoha and cause serious consequences. Moreover, no matter whether it is Uchiha Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto, or Haruno Sakura, they are all students he recognizes. If he causes the three of them to get into trouble, he will never forgive himself in this life. I hope the village will send someone over, but I can't have too much hope. I still have to rely on myself. And it's time to put Naruto Sasuke and their training on the plan. Thinking about the information he sent back to Konoha after encountering the Demon Brothers last time, Hatake Kakashi's heart was shocked. Teacher Kakashi, are you awake? Little Sakura, who entered the room, spoke in surprise. At night, looking at the house with lights on in front of them, Yuzuki Yugao and the other four stopped. Captain Kakashi and the others are in the room ahead. Do we need to go and say hello to them? Kushiyama asked. Through his perception of Hatake Kakashi chakra, Team 6 could easily locate Hatake Kakashi and the others. No, our mission is to protect their lives, but we should not interfere with their mission unless necessary. Yuzuki Yugao spoke, not intending to show up. But with Senior Kakashi's strength, he will definitely find us, so we can take the initiative to contact Senior Kakashi. As for the three Genins, it's better not to let them know of our existence. Understood. Kamiri Tsukika, Yamai Tsukika, and Ishikawa Ida spoke at the same time. Wu Yugo. Yuzuki Yugao spoke again, motioning Kamisato Tsukika to contact Hatake Kakashi. Yes. Chapter 20 Kakashi's Misunderstanding in a Room of the Dazna Family. Hatake Kakashi was refining chakra at this time. Since he walked on the edge of life and death last time, he changed his laziness and became serious, making himself in peak condition at any time, so as to face the demon Zabuza again. At a certain moment, Hatake Kakashi opened his eyes and looked out the window inadvertently. Then, he stood up and jumped out of the window directly. Just after jumping out of the window, Hatake Kakashi saw a short figure standing in the shadow under the tree in front of him. The other party did not flee in panic after seeing him, but walked out of the shadows to let Hatake Kakashi see him clearly. Mask, uniform, Hatake Kakashi recognized it as the costume of Konoha Umbu at a glance. However, Hatake Kakashi did not relax his vigilance. Although he looked like he was just standing casually, he was actually ready for defense and attack. No, I am from the 6th team of the 1st Division of Konoha Umbu. I am honored to meet you, Senior. Kamiri Tsukika spoke. Her voice was not loud, but she made sure that Hatake Kakashi could hear her. The 6th team? The team led by Yuzuki Yugao? Hatake Kakashi's thoughts flashed through his mind, but he did not speak and even held his breath. After all, this was only one-sided, and it was not clear whether the other party was an enemy or a friend, so he could not trust them rashly. Captain Hua and the others are over there. Can you please go over and talk to them, Senior? Kamiri Tsukika understood Hatake Kakashi's vigilance, and also noticed that Hatake Kakashi was not breathing. This was because they were afraid that he would poison her. It can only be said that he was worthy of being the one who had experienced the Third Ninja World War, worked in Umbu for 10 years, and successfully became the captain of Umbu. Hatake Kakashi moved his eyes when he heard the words, and saw Yuzuki Yugao and the other two under the tree in the distance, and nodded to Kamisato Tsukika. Kamiri Tsukika saw Hatake Kakashi and left first. He knew that if he didn't leave first, Hatake Kakashi would definitely not move. After all, although it was already confirmed that they were his own people, as long as they were not 100% sure, they had to be careful. If they fell into the trap of luring the tiger away from the mountain, it would be too late to regret it. Soon, Kamisato Uehua and Hatake Kakashi came to Yuzuki Yugao. Kakashi Sr. Captain, Captain. The three spoke at the same time. Kakashi was a well-known figure in Konoha, both in the open and in Umbu. Before leaving Umbu, Kakashi was the captain of Umbu. They were all Kakashi's subordinates. It's Hana. Why are you here? Are you on a special mission? Hatake Kakashi also relaxed after confirming the identities of Yuzuki Yugao and others, and asked with some curiosity. At the same time, he subconsciously analyzed that Yuzuki Yugao and his team must be carrying out a special mission nearby and encountered an urgent problem that was difficult to solve. So they ignored the rules of Umbu and took the initiative to ask for help from him, who had already left Umbu. Senior, this is the mission we are carrying out this time. Yuzuki Yugao took out a note from the ninja bag and handed it to Hatake Kakashi. This is the village's mission note, which has a special mark on it to prove its authenticity. Hatake Kakashi took the mission note and quickly read it. After reading it, he returned it to Yuzuki Yugao calmly. I understand, then I'll trouble you. He spoke, and he already knew the purpose of Yuzuki Yugao and his team. However, after knowing the purpose of Yuzuki Yugao and his team's mission, Hatake Kakashi was relieved, but also became confused. After encountering the Demon Brothers and deciding to continue the mission, he sent a report to the village, but the report only said that it might involve Kirigakure's traitor Momochi Zabuza, and he did not ask for help. I didn't expect the village to send an Umbu team to support him, and they came so urgently. This doesn't make sense. Are they worried about the safety of Naruto and Sasuke? Especially Naruto. He is Nine Tails Jinchuriki, and his life cannot be lost. However, isn't this reaction too big? Although this trip is indeed dangerous, he is at least the famous Hatake Kakashi, a genuine Konoha elite genin. The village doesn't trust his strength too much. Thinking of this, Hatake Kakashi laughed at himself and sighed at the same time. Indeed, this time he almost got into big trouble. Obviously, Hatake Kakashi misunderstood. He thought that the arrival of Kamisato, Tsukika, and others was the village's distrust of his strength, and he underestimated the importance of Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke in the hearts of the village's top leaders. However, in fact, the reason why Team 6 was sent here was because Sarutobi Hiruzen felt that the Land of Waves was a good training opportunity for Kamisato Tsukika. Regardless of whether there were other ninjas involved in this mission, with Hatake Kakashi, the elite genin, and Kamisato Tsukika's strength, it was completely possible to ensure that Kamisato Tsukika's life would not be threatened. In this situation where her life was not threatened, it would be a good improvement for Kamisato Tsukika to experience the battles of ninjas and kill people with blood. This was why Sarutobi Hiruzen asked Team 6, where Kamisato Tsukika was, to help Team Kakashi. It was just that Hatake Kakashi could not think of it now. Not to mention Hatake Kakashi, except for a few people in Team 6, no one would have thought that Sarutobi Hiruzen would be so painstaking for Kamisato Tsukika's growth. After all, in people's eyes, although Kamisato Tsukika was a genius, she was only the top student in the ninja school. The top student of the ninja school is born every year, which is not rare. Only those who have witnessed Kamisato Tsukika's heaven-defying growth with their own eyes, such as Yuzuki Yugao, know the value of Kamisato Tsukika and understand the third Hokage's approach. Then, we will take action in an emergency and leave other situations to Senior Kakashi. Yuzuki Yugao spoke, and Kakashi nodded and then left. But before leaving, he deliberately looked at Kamisato Tsukika. Judging from a voice just now, he is not old. He should be a teenager. And being able to join Umbu as a teenager, there's no doubt that he must be a genius. At least he is a genius in some aspects. It's just that I don't know which family the child is from. Hatake Kakashi guessed in his heart, but he didn't go into it. Chapter 21, Mizunatsuki Haku. Must read. After night, the next morning, Hatake Kakashi's class began their own intense training. Although they had put down their worries, Hatake Kakashi still behaved as usual, giving Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, and Haruno Sakura a sense of tension, and letting the pressure on them continue. After all, pressure is also a driving force. In this tense atmosphere, the training effect of the three people is much faster than usual. In the forest, Kamisato Tsukika hid somewhere that Uzumaki Naruto could not see, watching Uzumaki Naruto's training while conducting shallow deductions. This continued until the sun set, until late at night, until Uzumaki Naruto collapsed on the ground and fell asleep because of exhaustion. Hatake Kakashi came during this period, but Uzumaki Naruto was still practicing at that time, so he told Naruto to go back early and left. As for Uzumaki Naruto's safety, Hatake Kakashi looked at the place where Kamisato Tsukika was hiding, and he was relieved. Although the true identity of Kamisato Uehua has not been confirmed, since he was able to enter Umbu and was recognized by Yuzuki Yugao, it proves that he is indeed a genius, and his strength is at least at the level of Chunin. Although such strength is not enough to deal with Momochi Zabuza, it is enough to hold back one or two when Momochi Zabuza attacks, and wait for their support. Another night passed, the sun rose, and the light tilted down from the gaps between the trees and fell on the flowers and plants in the forest. Because Naruto was too tired last night, he did not wake up after falling asleep, and he was still sleeping soundly at this time. And Kamisato Uehua, with his comprehension and deduction of the spiritualization technique, although his soul has not moved, his mental power has begun to become much stronger than that of ordinary people, and sleeping 2 or 3 hours a day is enough. So Kamisato Uehua woke up a long time ago and continued to deduce his technique. At a certain moment, Kamisato Uehua stopped deducing and looked into the distance of the forest. After a while, a figure appeared in the forest. It was a person who looked a bit thin. As he approached, Kamisato Uehua saw the appearance of the person clearly. With just one look, Kamisato Uehua knew who it was. Pink robe, long black hair, pretty face. Who else could it be but Mizunatsuki Haku? It must be said that Mizunatsuki Haku is very beautiful. No wonder Naruto blushed at him and said that he was cuter than little Sakura. But unfortunately, since the word he was used, it also proved that Mizunatsuki Haku is a boy. This is a boy who is more beautiful and cute than a girl. Of course, there has been constant controversy about Mizunatsuki Haku's gender. There are many people who support him as a boy, but there are also many people who support him as a girl. Neither side can convince the other. At this time, Kamisato Uehua has the ability to reveal the truth about whether Mizunatsuki Haku is a boy or a girl. With his strength, even if he has not experienced that kind of life and death duel, it is still no problem to subdue Mizunatsuki Haku. The gap in strength between the two sides is too big, and it is no longer something that can be made up by experience. However, Kamisato Uehua did not move. He just watched quietly in the dark. Soon, a scene in the plot was played out in front of Kamisato Tsukika. When the two sides had already confirmed that they were in a hostile relationship, when Naruto was recognized as the enemy, and when Naruto was asleep and had no power to fight back, Mizunatsuki Shiro did not attack Naruto. He just woke Naruto up and reminded Naruto not to fall asleep in the forest where he would catch a cold. And Naruto blushed and called Mizunatsuki Shiro Big Sister. It was not until Mizunatsuki Shiro left and said that he was a man that Naruto was stunned, his face full of disbelief, and the whole person looked like he was deeply shocked. Kamisato Tsukika watched this plot quietly without interrupting or attacking Mizunatsuki Shiro. Of course, during the whole process, Naruto and Mizunatsuki Shiro never discovered the hidden Kamisato Tsukika. So, is it a man or a woman? Kamisato Tsukika whispered to himself. One of the reasons why he did not take action was to try whether he could tell Mizunatsuki Shiro's gender. But unfortunately, Kamisato Tsukika failed. Can't tell at all. Just like those who think Shiro Mizunatsuki is a man and can't accept him as a woman, and those who think Shiro Mizunatsuki is a woman and can't accept him as a man, Kamisato Tsukika can't convince herself to accept Shiro Mizunatsuki as another gender. But it doesn't matter, we'll know next time. Kamisato Tsukika put away her inner entanglement and continued her shallow deduction. Since Shiro Mizunatsuki appeared, according to the development of the plot, it won't be long before Zabuza Momochi will appear. At that time, Kamisato Tsukika will take action when Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto are trapped by Shiro Mizunatsuki, and that is the best time for him to take action. Yes, Kamisato Tsukika will definitely take action in this incident. Although I know that Hatake Kakashi...
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.